So yeah, it went really well. Really happy. I was watching StarCitizen all the time as well, as much as possible, just to keep me in the loop. And it seems to be like StarCitizen is just growing in strength to strength. They made, what was it, $10 million, I think it was, in the anniversary sale period, and continue to make more money. There's going to be another sale coming up as well, I imagine, which will probably even boost them even more. What are they at, 210 million now, or 212 million?
Yeah,
or something like that?
something over 210, I believe.
Yeah,
which is unbelievable. You know,
it's insane,
incredible. The most amount of money they've ever made, I think, isn't it, this time? From and just think, anyone that says it's Scam Citizen and it's Dead Citizen or whatever else, it's like, no, like, I look at it and I go, and that's for a game that hasn't even got freaking that much content, really, in terms of like gameplay mechanics. Can you imagine how much they will make when Squadron 42
it's like fucking micro transactions. There's nothing fucking micro about their sales, is there?
No.
10 fucking
no.
Oh.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much money they potentially stand to make? Like, I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, they could make 50-60 million within a couple of days if Squadron 42 is good.
I think they did 3 million within, what was it, 1 or 2 days?
Yeah.
I
think the
And
Arrow
they're
was
standing now at
the Arrow was a huge success,
210,360,000.
It's just crazy. Oh, by the way, guys, if you notice when you click on Mrs. screen on your thing, you might notice that Mrs. D&D comes up on the left-hand side.
It's
D&D for our stout. This is for our stout and sturdy that we do on Friday. And the characters there, you can see our characters. My character is Baron.
But he's not dead.
And so, when I'm not dead, yes. It's a warlock. So if you notice what that's coming up on the left-hand side, that's why. Anyway,
because I haven't turned it off. That's why.
So that's come up, but I just couldn't believe it. Like, when I was watching the money, and I was just thinking to myself, okay, I get that they've dropped in Hurston. I get it looks visually pretty, but I was like, in terms of actual kind of like lots of new stuff, I was like, there's not really a huge amount of new stuff that's come into the game, but I think it's just that the scale and just the kind of, I think some of the new ships that they brought in, like the Hammerhead and things like that, and it's just been a few little things they've dialed in that have just made the difference. I think with the I think it's the frames, right? It's got to be down to the fact that bind-coloring has been so good.
Yeah, it's more playable now.
Yeah, having it more playable has to have made a difference, because it basically, like, what makes you buy a ship other than the A, because you like it, but B, that the hope to actually go and fly it. So the stuff that you've actually got, like the Arrow being flight ready, the Valkyrie wasn't it, from before flight ready, and then stick that in a game where you're giving the frames that you can actually play it. It's making people that couldn't play before go on and play it, and then obviously once they're playing it and enjoying it, it means that they then spend more money. So I think it definitely had a knock-on effect from that. Would we have seen that sort of level of purchasing if it hadn't had good frames? Probably not. There was quite a lot of new people like buying the Arrow package or coming in. I saw once again a big fluctuation of people asking in like other people's streams, like, how do I get into the game? What's the best starter package? So it did seem to bring in a few new faces as well. So it wasn't just old money coming in.
Reddit, like, I picked out a few pieces, but I've been noticing, like, there's been bits of Reddit where it's not just one person saying they've bought the game. I watched it. There are people doing YouTube videos have been saying, I bought this game with my friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're not just, they're buying it with their mates now, which is really interesting. It's like, oh, okay, that's good. That's really good, because and then also the thing was, they weren't sharing bad experiences. They were sharing kind of funny ones where they were doing stupid things with the characters, which we've all done ourselves. But then they were showing the gameplay, the bits with them flying around and doing, again, all the very stuff that all of us do when we first play the game, crashing into things, blowing up. But they were
still
having fun.
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
I mean, it still does, and to be fair, we all do. But they loved it. They loved it, and it was just really, really positive. And I'm really happy. Like I've said before on my stream before I left and went away, is like, I'm at the stage now where I know many people would kind of counter me and disagree with me, but I'm at the stage where I tell people very clearly, if you want to be part of the development of StarCitizen, now couldn't be a better time to get involved. Because it's actually stable enough to play the game. It's good. It's so goddamn pretty. There's ships. There's things to do. There's a lot of things to do. It's a great time to get part of the development process. If you want to play a finished game, go and play Red Dead Redemption. That will always be my kind of thing for it. But I honestly no longer am saying to people, don't play the game and come back in a year. I'm now saying to them, if you like it, after do a couple of weeks, maybe a study or whatever, but if you're really interested, I think it's a great time to get into Star Citizen right now. I really do.
I mean, I've played early access games that have probably got less playability on them.
And less content.
And less content. And I mean, that's saying something when, I mean, Star Citizen hasn't got a ton of content. I mean, if the missions worked again, that would go a long way to helping that. But, yeah.
I hope that's one of the first things they will fix now.
Yeah.
Because it's getting annoying. What's the point of putting the missions in if they're not working?
Yeah, obviously something broke them because they were working for a while. So it's just finding out what caused it. But yeah, I mean, I did link to a PC Gamer review that said it about and made a thing on about 7 to 8 million. I mean, the review itself is pointless as it always is. I think they were just kind of commenting on, like, they like to high sensationalize when Star Citizen's doing something like raising shit tons of cash. But what I thought was more interesting was the comments underneath. And because I do click on these because we do the podcast and to just get the information from these, even though a lot of these articles are pretty shit. But for a long time, the comments underneath have always been, oh, you know, like you said, it's a scam, or it's not worth playing, or this shit's still going, you know, all the usual stuff. But it was interesting to see on this one that new players were commented on the article saying, this is the first time I've tried it under Free Flight and it's fucking good. And there was people finally believing and defending it and saying, no, I'm actually, you know, as much as I don't want to say this, but I've actually been enjoying it. Yeah, there's still a couple of shit comments as well, but it was just interesting to see a bit more of a flow and a difference.
I think there will be more mouth-to-mouth, how do you call it? That people want, French kissing. No, the friends telling other friends, I found this really cool game. You really should buy in. And
word of mouth.
Yeah, word of mouth. Sorry, yeah.
No, it's cool. We got there. I was just curious.
Well, I would say mouth-to-mouth advertisement, but I don't know if that's a thing in England. But you will see that happening a lot more now that we're fairly stable. Getting more content. It's only just about to start, actually, I think.
Yeah.
I would say that we're at that kind of like ground zero in terms of, like, people said it before and other times, but like for me, having a bit of experience, not as far all the way back, but for me having a bit of experience now, I'm fairly comfortable with saying that this is probably ground zero for Star Citizen in terms of, like I said, feeling confident to kind of like really say. I said it before, mainly for the dogfighting aspect, but for this now, I really feel, based on the way that they've added some other things, mining, just generally, I'm just like, I think there's still a few bits to go, but this is it. I think
a lot of bits, but we will get there.
Server meshing obviously is the big one. To get the big, I think I linked in the Mrs. Discord channel, another game, another MMO game.
From the ARC developers.
From the art developers, again, this is 40,000 player server type thing. You know, a lot of the MMO games nowadays are going for these huge scale of, you know, numbers of players and real world immersive worlds and stuff. And I think CIG really needs to make sure that they are on that in terms of delivering that experience, because if other games are doing it, they need to be there. You know, they need to make sure that their universe is full of players interacting with each other. You know,
they first need to prove it. Their statement that the ARC developers did, because they were talking about 40,000 people.
Yeah, I mean, old school MMOs used to have quite a lot of people. We've gone in like a circle where actually a lot of games now, they class as MMOs, but they're not. Like you know, like Sea of Thieves, it's only a certain amount of people per server. And I think what was the latest one that came out? Yeah. And you're playing it, it's like, well, we only have X amount per server, and then a new server's spooled up, so you're not actually on the same server. So it's like, I think a lot of it says to me, I don't know, a lot of people having, with these new graphics and everything else coming in and new mechanics, are a lot of people struggling to get those sort of levels on a server, right, and running them at the same time.
Interested.
What is the name again of that?
How they do it.
Atlas, was it?
Atlas, I think that was Atlas.
Atlas. Is that running on Spatial OS, or I don't think so, is it?
I don't know.
I literally only just saw the video for it. I literally saw it today, before 30 minutes before I think we came on. So I have no real depth, unfortunately. My knowledge is millimeters thick on it. Just saw the trailer. That's all.
Okay.
But you'll find out more. But it was just interesting. Obviously, people talking about obviously the size of their promised numbers. Now we all know many game companies do lots of promises and have never delivered on some of them. But CIG
I think
obviously they want to do
like
server meshing.
Elder Scrolls has the PvP, and they have 3 different realms all in one area, and I think that's like a few hundred from each side, maybe so like 600, in a small battle map, which seems to be kind of limit, I think, and that's still kind of with people being in separate areas, you know, like not all in exactly one space at one time. But I don't know if it all counts as being one big server though. So
I'm fascinated to know how they're going to do it in terms of like, are we going to have one big UK server where you have 100,000, 200,000, 1 million, 2 million players, whatever it is in the UK, and then you have a massive America server which has however many millions of players in, you know, or if it will be broken up into state servers, you know, in terms of like, you know, you have your different states of America all connected through kind of server meshing, and then they'll do the same in England. So it'll be like a London server and Manchester server, and then they'll all be kind of stitched together, and then those will then be stitched together again. Do you know what I mean? In order to keep, you know, the numbers, because part of me is kind of trying to, I was thinking about it the other day, it's like, will they stack the servers on top of each other? Or like, how will I, you know, will I be able to play with all of the UK StarCitizen games on one server? But then I was like, well, what if that server crashes? That's like all of the UK players gone. It's like, could you imagine like if you just had like one server for the UK?
Clustered servers and such.
That happened when I was a kid.
difficult.
That's how I played like Team Fortress Classic. So when I was with, I had like 2 brothers and my dad all played on computers. So we'd play like as 4 of us. And there's only like 6 people in the. I think it was 6v6, something like that. So 4 of us were all in the same room, but we was all on fucking ISDN internet. We did upgrade from 56k, where everyone else was on 56k. We had to get a business line so we could have ISDN, and then like we played tournament matches because we were in the same room, so we could tell each other a lot quicker when something was happening. But the problem was when we lost connection, the whole team just disappeared, and we'd come back to everybody capping shitloads of points, and it's like, oh fuck. So yeah, it's not good in a fight if you all disconnect.
100%. 100%.
Let me turn off my D&D stuff.
Yeah, everyone's like, well, the D&D is confusing.
What is this D&D?
What is this?
We were all playing characters at the moment. We haven't got much life.
Oh, that's rude, Toby. Rude.
Cutting cables end of March.
My wife. We're just my son's school. So 2 seconds.
Okay.
1, 2.
So what was we talking about anyway? Oh, the servers. Yeah. So
servers.
I think the server meshing is meant to be, it's kind of, as long as they stick to what they were originally planning, it would be you get put on the same server as your friends, and then it'll be your orgs, and then it'll be your alliances, and then it'll be anybody else that they can fit on that server. But then I think it's based around you, so it's loads of servers. That's why it's meshing, so it's like crossed over each other, so you kind of fly between one server and another without really knowing it.
And one server takes over of the other server when you're switching regions in game.
Yeah.
Not real regions in real life, but and they need backup servers. It needs to scale. When more people will get into the game, there will be several other servers fired up so they can actually handle the crowd. But on the same time, you don't want to have 1,000 people in Port Olisar walking, because that will be not playable at all.
No.
So then you have to have some sort of instant situation going on, just like in World of Warcraft or whatever MMO out there. So you can actually walk inside of Port Olisar instead of standing there.
Yeah.
With thousands of other.
Yeah, you'll have I suppose we've seen it in like you said, World of Warcraft things like I'm by the bank. Yeah, I'm also by the bank, and then you find out you're not on the same server. But what should happen, at least it does in say like I think like Black Desert Online, other MMOs, is that you can travel to your friend, and then it'll put you in the same instance. What they're hoping to do, I think, is to have that running in the background so that they know that you're on each other's contact list. So when you both land on Port Al-Assar, you should be on the same server, which makes more sense, really. And then, like, don't forget, this is where, I mean, well, look how massive it is already. If you imagine with all the planets, and it's like you're going to expand it everywhere, and they've already said how choosing your character features and things will actually change where you spawn at the start of the game. So don't expect everybody right out of the gate to be spawning in the same station either. I think we're all going to be picking different planets to start on and stuff, which is going to be pretty cool.
I hope so. Yeah.
So we all want to spawn together. We've all got to have big noses. How do we spawn on the same planet? Oh yeah, we've all got to have this fucking great big nose. That's the only way you can play on that planet, right? Okay. Another one that just got big fuck off ears. There you go. I see what planet you come from.
It's actually the most enjoyable thing that I'm looking forward to, how they solve that server issue, because it's a long way from where we are now, and it's really interesting, that technique.
I mean, it's been a massive. It's funny, isn't it? Because the more you play like the newer iteration of a game, the more you kind of forget how it was. And like when we was on, was it eight people servers, or was it 16? I can't remember what the minimum was now. Was it just 16? See, I can't even remember. But like trying to get on when your friends, like it's bad enough even with 50 people servers, you're still going, oh, fucking servers full. But before it was like 16 or 8 or something like that, and it's like almost impossible to get onto the same server. So like the frames was an absolutely massive hit for StarCitizen, and I do think the server meshing will be the next one, because like when you finally don't have to pick a server to be on with your friends, you literally just get to log on and actually be on the same server. That's going to be a huge difference. It's that's probably for me. It's probably going to be one of the biggest chunks that help finalize what you're trying to do with the game, I think. Non-game mechanic wise sort of thing.
Server-wide OCS will be a thing as well. I don't know if bind culling is. I can't remember what bind culling precisely was, but that's another thing. And the server meshing, that's a really big deal.
Well, the server-wide OCS is more to do with being able to add more stuff into the game. So we wouldn't necessarily see a benefit at the moment because its frames are running pretty well. So it's more linked to when they want to add more stations, more planets, then we will need that, which I think they've already said that they're planning to kind of not add stuff to the game until it's in, because they know it'll just cause issues. So I suppose, it's what will come first, I'm not sure, but
I think OCS, but it's just guessing.
Yeah, I mean, if they've worked it out for players side server, player side OCS, then hopefully it's not too much for them to work out for the server side. Probably is, because I have no idea what I'm talking about. But
we have to see, because the whole in the latest RTV they were talking about the whole C.
Yeah.
And they were talking about that physics grid, the local physics grid, and it's really hard to actually implement that whole C right now into the game, because it should not work as intended because of that local grid working together with the overall physics grid and the OCS part. And it's you don't think about it, but it's so complex. It really is.
Yeah. It just makes me laugh, because I mean, obviously a lot of people go, well, how hard can it be for them to switch this on? And it's like, it's so much
really
more
hard.
difficult than you think.
Moving parts, retracting parts, rotating parts, and you have to stay inside and be able to walk in it, and it's mind-boggling.
Well, they've already said it was that on the RTV as well, about how they obviously this was part of the reason why they said that they.
Quick question, sorry, Miss, to interrupt you, but is anyone else getting a black screen on your channel?
Nope.
Just me.
I did turn the D&D stuff off, so maybe refresh it and see whether that triggered it. But
Sorry, yeah, because I'm getting a refresh and it's just jet black on my screen, but everyone else is obviously fine. I think it might be my
I think
ad block,
VCQ.
my ad blocker hating me.
Oh, you've ad blocked me totally. It's like I don't want to watch. This is an advert. We're advertising Crocs, and
I'm
it just blocked it.
The thing is, it's not. It doesn't even block the fucking advert. That's the problem. I'm watching an advert right now. Stupid advert. I'm like, for fuck's sake, it's not working properly. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
No problem. So yeah, they was on about like the concept ships and why we get some before others. And I think it's a bit like the Redeemer. It's kind of like, because when they first mentioned about doing it, half the other shit wasn't even invented yet. So it's like, well, now we don't actually know how to do this. And I think that's kind of what we're getting, like with some of these, like the physics grids and the problems that we're getting, is that they didn't actually expect some of this stuff to even be in, to let them have to come and then jump that hurdle to get it to work. And it does make you wonder sometimes whether they look back at a ship design, probably like the Redeemer, and go, why did we suggest this? Whose fucking idea was it to have boxes on the outside of your ship? Who decided this? Shoot them now.
Are we talking about the hull? Is that just so I can catch up?
Kind of merged in with the hull to the whole object container streaming type of thing. So yeah. But this is about the hull, yeah.
Just makes me wonder how many times they would have reworked a particular ship internally. Let's do it this way, and then they did it that way, and then the technique went further on, and we can do it better. Let's go back to the drawing board and back forth.
That's a good point. And do you think that there's because things have changed. So take the Freelancer probably for what's the one that they've done probably like 3 or 4 times. The Connie's been done quite a few times.
The Freelancer's on its 3rd or 4th iteration.
Yeah, it's like
the colours. Okay. It's on its 3rd at least its 3rd iteration.
Do you think it's been a mistake for them to do that like that many times? Like, because like now they're admitting that the stuff that they've done before is they're going to have to redo to be able to put all these panels and everything else. It's just like, why are you wasting time? Like, you had a flyable ship, say like the Freelancer was flyable. Why keep redesigning it until you know that the other technology's done, and then redesign it with everything in mind?
Nah, it's design, mate. Honestly, like I know that from shoes. Like I'm on this shoe that I showed up earlier. That's like my 2nd season. The 1st season it didn't make it. It wasn't good enough. The 2nd season kind of been tweaked it, adjusted it, went to a new factory. I'd made a few more changes, and then boom, it's like it's now almost there, but it's still not ready. It's still not perfect. It'll get iterated again, probably a few little tweaks again. That's what design. That is design. Design is just a constant tweaking and changing. And especially if you allow designers to get new tools, get new things, they will just
especially the tools.
It's like, I've got new tools. I can make this look better. I can improve the poly count, which means I can make it look even more shiny. It means I can change. And then you get new designers as well come on board. You forget, like, you might have an old designer, and then you have a new designer, and he comes on board. He looks at the ship and goes, what the fuck is this idiot doing? You know what I mean? It's like, why did he put this here? Why did he do that? This is stupid. You know what I mean? And he might then say to Chris or whoever the person is running the show and say, look, I think I could make a better job of the interior of this, or I mean, how about if I try this, or if I change this, or whatever. I mean, that's just the process we're in. And I've had this conversation actually probably a few years ago. I think when we had this on the Addicted podcast a while ago, and I remember talking to, I think it was Board Gamer was on the show, and he we were talking about how many iterations of ships, and he was like, you probably get 4, 5, maybe 6 iterations potentially on certain ships before they get it right. And I agree with him. Expect to have constant iterations. I think that's just part of the way it's going to be, and we still got lots of game mechanics yet to come, especially medical game. I mean, we've seen the Carrack. We've seen the Carrick as an exploration ship. I honestly think they're too soon to bring the Carrack out. I know that they're doing the exterior, and I don't know if they're finishing the Carrack this year, but from my understanding, I still worry about that, because I'm going, well, it's really quite a small system. There's not really that much gameplay for exploration, really. I think it's too soon. That's just my view on it. I would rather wait until the game's almost finished and release the Carrack, personally.
Everyone seems to be saying we've got a black screen. I don't know why.
Yeah.
The only thing I can do is stop the stream and start it again and see if it works. But no, you shouldn't be. Oh, I could try changing scene. I don't know if that would even help or not.
Just hit the refresh. Refresh.
Well, apparently they have been.
I noticed this the other day, Miz, when I was watching. I was getting constant freezes of the stream, and I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's your channel or if it's just Twitch at the moment. It's been weird.
Shouldn't be.
Yeah,
Thank you for the follow, Snake.
Why it would be my channel? I've not really had any.
No, I don't think it is your channel. I think it might be just Twitch, dude. Or Twitch ad blockers, or maybe ad blockers or something.
Often dodgy.
Tutamon, are you using an ad blocker? Because if you are, it could
refreshed,
be the
and
reason.
now it's fine. Yeah, I think it's just probably stream. Twitch just have to keep refreshing a few times.
If anyone of you getting black screens and you're using ad blockers to try and block all these horrible ads from Amazon and Twitch, that could be a reason.
And quit the alcohol abuse, please.
Take your sunglasses off indoors.
Yeah, and I don't blame you because, like we were saying before we started the stream, oh my fucking god, Twitch, sort it out. Why the hell do we have to watch the same advert for 30 seconds over and fucking over and fucking over? It's unbelievable how to destroy a great platform. Stick fucking adverts everywhere. Sorry, I just get really salty about it. I'm like, at least make them interesting, the adverts. Come on, if you're going to make it happen.
Name one advert that's interesting.
The ones which are all about the ones that get banned. Those are my favorite adverts. The ones that get banned. Those are the best adverts. The ones that you're not supposed to watch.
In the UK, it's normally ones from other countries. We get them on late at night. These adverts that were banned, and they make a whole show of.
Ferrero Rocher adverts are really fun, or the man with milk tray is actually pretty good. I would suggest that Twitch brings back all the old cigar adverts from back in the day when you weren't supposed to be smoking. I think that would be hilarious.
Kind of like an episode of Fallout.
Explain the man with the milk tray. Yeah. What's that all about?
Milk tray.
That should be an English advert, I think.
Well, I believe this is, for anyone can correct me wrong, but if anyone remembers a TV show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Giles was the character, and he, I believe, was in one of those. It was either the cigar one. He was in like one of these really cheesy adverts. I can't remember which one. It was a drinking one or a milk tray one or something. I can't remember what it was, but he was in one of these kind of like long-running adverts, and they made the adverts were all part of a series as well. It wasn't this just 30 seconds, just nothing. It was like they're all part of a series, and the character kind of, I can't remember. Anyway, those, they had, there was a bit of class to it. It's a bit like old school 70s porn, you know what I mean? They had a storyline, whether you wanted to believe in it or not, there was a storyline, there was a plot line. It was
when I was a young boy, I always liked the Fa commercials. Do you know Fa, the bathing cream and stuff? Mm-hmm. They always showed naked women with naked breasts.
Nice. See, Twitch, you're missing it completely. Unbelievably missing.
Exactly.
All you need, put some naked women on the adverts and we'll all be like literally spamming
we never had that as children.
No? Oh, Starburger. He will remember. Starburger Fa commercials, dude.
Apparently it's Twitch. Apparently it's Twitch that's
causing
Twitch
wide.
So
yeah, I think it's Twitch wide. Yeah.
Fuck you, Twitch, every fucking time. If it's not Discord screwing me over, or my internet that's screwing me over, now Twitch is screwing me over.
Such a liberal. No, I thought it might be Twitch, but I think it's to do with their, like I said, I think they're trying to break the ad blocking stuff. As far as I'm aware, I think they're really trying to stop people from being able to block all their adverts. They've been doing some very clever things. I noticed. I was reading about it because I was reading how to block them.
My ad block is running fine here.
They've been changing a few things. No, but the way they've been, there's I can't remember exactly. I'm not super good with it, but they've been changing the way the adverts go through, so the ad blocker doesn't recognize it.
I had that for a lot on Amazon for a long time, even with it on, and even though I kept saying ban this advert when it was on, it still kept fucking playing that Gillette advert.
Yeah,
I don't want to shave.
To be really clever.
Don't need a fucking razor.
Yeah, I know exactly.
This and his razor.
Yeah, no, it's.
It was when Star Wars was out, so everyone, it was just a pew pew razor advert.
They should just. I'm all for them. If you want to do the adverts and stuff, that they should let the streamer control the advert button almost in a way like they do.
Apparently, there is that as well.
Streamers.
Yeah.
So you should just be like, if the streamer wants to say, hey, guess what, guys? If I put this video on, I make a small amount of money from the advert. And then, like, you could all be like in agreement and say, yeah, okay, fair enough. We'll watch a 10-second advert or whatever it is, or 15-second advert. And the streamer gets half of the revenue, say, from the advert. I would feel kind of cool with that. But the fact is, I'm having to watch a thing on somebody's channel for no reason.
The only one gaining is Amazon.
Yeah, exactly, which is stupid. And then the other, and then the other thing is I don't know if anyone else has been having this, but I've been on my phone. So I talk about this for a bit too long, but is that I've been having the problem with I get disconnected from chat sometimes. So I'm having to then re-log in after like maybe a couple minutes of being in someone's thing to get into chat, which means I get another 30-second advert. So I'm just like, sort out your app. If you're going to force me to use fucking watch adverts, at least figure out how make your app work properly, please.
Make it so that it works out if you've seen an advert as well. Like I had the same issue. There's nothing worse when you're like trying to listen to somebody and it refresh because chat's not working, and then you watch an advert. Anyway, yes.
Anyway.
Talking of adverts, I do like when you watch TV in the adverts though, is that you can see the people that have paid to get decent people to make the advert, and then people that just try and scrape the bottom of the barrel to try and get someone to make the advert, and it's like, oh my.
Whoever we were talking about you were talking about the whole series, and you guys were talking about how what's interesting about this is obviously they showed off the whole series like really proudly not too long ago. I think it was at the beginning of the year. They showed off how they had created it to fold underneath, and it looked like it was almost finished. You know what I mean? It was like fully grey blocked out, and they had the animations working, and they were just saying, "Oh, we're just having a few problems with it connecting."
That is all working indeed. Yeah.
But it's all they made it out like it was like, oh my god, yeah, this is coming really soon. And then obviously everything seemed to stop pretty quickly. So I'm guessing they must have come up against a massive roadblock called docking. Surprise, surprise. Docking.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Forever.
Docking and the local physics grids. That's basically what they told us. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, and then it's like that's it on the back burner instantly. I was like, wow.
Well, it's funny because like that's what's obviously, we've talked about like the Merlin and how that stuck up the Connie's ass for so long, and it's actually the same issue. The Merlin being stuck up the Connie's ass is linked to the whole problem because it's like it's like the Connie they can't do the dock with ship on ship, so that's why they can't get it to leave and then come back in again. And then that's why, like the same with the hull, because they can't make it land on a landing pad, which means it has to actually dock with the docking ring and collar. And the same if you want to dock ship to ship. So they said they're going to do the whole docking to a station first because that'll be still, so there's only one thing moving, and then they'll try and do the docking together. So we may one day see the Merlin finally leave the Connie's ass.
Hope so. One day. To be fair, by that day, the Connie, I don't know if the Connie will be any good. To be honest, it's getting worse and worse. I think from what people, it's probably one of the most unliked ships nowadays. It seems, which is kind of a shame for the Connie, really, because it is meant to be RSI's, flagship kind of middle ship, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And it just gets more and more hate. The more people still love the idea of the Connie, but everyone that's get it just kind of goes, why do I want this? There's so many other better ships. It's very weak. It's defensively, it's weak.
Well, I think it's fallen down the trap of pretty much what you said on RTV, which is when you listen to it, it was interesting. It's like, well, they've kind of just given up on certain ships because it's like, well, they said the longer you wait for your ship, which is what we've said for a very long time about the Banu Merchantman, but the longer you wait for your ship, the better your ship will be because they learn shit as they go along. Yeah. And that's what they said. It's like, well, what are we going to do about the Reliant? Oh, well, it's just one of its flaws. What are we going to do about this? Oh, yeah, the Freelancer, it's just one of its flaws. Like, without redoing the whole ship, which they're not prepared to do, which means these early ships are becoming, sadly, worse and worse because it's the first iteration of people building ships when they didn't know how anything's going to work. Whereas now the more they know how shit works, the better they can build a ship because they can prepare for it. So honestly, you're better off waiting for your ship because you'll get a much better ship by the end of it. I mean, when the game is finished, they will make a Mark II.
Well, I think that they did start. They talked about this before. They did say that there will potentially be that will be a thing. There will be the Freelancer 2 or the Freelancer 3 and the Freelancer 4. They did talk about how, we already have the Hornet technically in game. They showed off the new Hornet. Oh, they had the new styling obviously, and they've got the Hawk styling, and they talked about how the newness will be there. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I don't mind that. I like the idea of that. The only issue I have with that is the backers will obviously feel cheated because they feel like they've invested a
Mhm.
huge amount of money in what they were hoping for to get really good ships that were going to be relevant. And they may be, by the time the Persistent Universe is at that stage, the ships that they've all paid hardcore money for will be garbage. Now, people will say to me, well, you just CCU up. You know what I mean? You just CCU up and
But
buy a new
it's
ship. And I'm
like,
like, well, that's
yeah.
fine. But they're having to pay a $5 increase potentially, or whatever the price. They're effectively they will still have to pay more money. They can't just CC up straight away, and they're having to constantly do that. So I can see why people would be upset about that. The ship that they were hoping to get
It's
wasn't
like buying a
as good as another
brand new
ship.
car, and as soon as it's out the showroom floor, you're actually driving a classic car around the place.
Yeah,
It's like
Mhm.
it's so outdated that no one in their right mind would actually use it. And it's kind of like that. You're getting these ships now where they don't want to do a whole rework, and so they're kind of like, that's what you get. That's the ship you've got. Like it or leave it, really. And I do feel like the Connies are a bit like that because you've got these big hulking engines, and then the body's just not got any substance to it inside it. It's small.
not.
I mean, the Phoenix they've done a lot more with, but yeah, it's just there was a couple on RTV they mentioned, and it's like it just seemed a bit of a shame when they said that. It's like, so they said, well, we're not saying neither, but like even the Freelancer, because someone said that is the cockpit view going to ever change, and it was just like, no, because we'd have to change the ship. So
They'd have to change a lot of their ships though, because that's kind of the signature on quite a few of the old school ships, isn't it? I
Yeah.
think the whole series has the same kind of panoramic front end, and I think even the actually no, that's a different series. It's a different ship altogether. Sorry, I was looking at the I was thinking of the Mercury, not the Mercury runner, the other one, the bomber, but that's Outland. That's a different ship altogether. Sorry,
yeah,
I get confused with that ship. I always think that's a MISC ship, the bomber, but it's not. It's a consolidated Outland ship. Yeah, no, I agree. Miz, I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that's exactly. I think if you want to look for something that sums it up, I think the classic car route is bang on.
yeah.
I think that's literally is bang on. It's like for me, it's like the glaive. They haven't confirmed yet that they're going to update the glaive. You know what I mean? And I kind of look at the glaive and I go, it doesn't look anything like the fucking blade. In terms of styling.
Yeah,
It couldn't be any further away in terms of styling, really. So for me, it's like. Yeah, it's just like this just has to. They have to get there. 07's HC Vertigo. Thank you, buddy, for the raid. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. How was your stream? Hope you had a good stream, buddy.
Hey, very good. Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome everybody from HC Vertigo's channel. So yeah, the whole man. Like, well, actually, let's just go through the list of ships. Okay, so this was what I found really interesting. So, just find out what's
136
not
of
going
them.
to be in spring, summer. Yeah, no. No, you're here a while. It was the ships that are not going to come in 2019, which I thought was really interesting. So they said the Orion is bigger and it's not coming in 2019. The Starliner still isn't coming in 2019. The Endeavour not coming in 2019. The Kraken, the outside's done, but it's not coming in 2019. The Rovers are not coming in 2019. And the X1, this is the one that surprised me the most. The X1, a small little hover vehicle, is not coming in 2019. I was like, what?
Will you miss it?
I was like, no, it's not really that. But it's just like, why did they even sell that ship if it's such a small? Like, seriously, like something must have happened for them to just go. Either the Gravlift system, they went, yeah, this isn't going to work. It's probably not even standing upright properly. You know what I mean?
I mean, there's a couple of things that it's like the tank as well that they said they weren't going to be doing in 2019 or even near future. So, well, why on earth did you bring a concept out on it? Like, why? Did you have any reason for it, or you just thought? Fuck it, we ain't sold a tank. Let's sell a tank.
With the big backlog they already having, it's not logical. But yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's right. I think I think you're right. I think that's the other reason. I think like the reason why they won't go back to some of the ships is they just haven't got the resources to go back to some of those ships because they have to do so many new ones, and they have to, they have to keep feeding them the machine, which is this new ships. Now, they obviously he hinted to the fact that they have a load of other ships, which was really cool and very exciting. I don't know about other people, but I was super like when Disco said that, he's like, and there's a load of the ships that you don't know about, motherfuckers, which I thought was funny. I was like, oh, juicy, juicy, juicy. I was like, really juicy, because the truth is, like, we have said this, I think the ships are way better now. So if you're coming into the game, and this is another reason why it's good to come into the game now and to buy the new ships now, because they are that much better. Do you know what I mean? The 600i, for example, I think paves the way in terms of showing how good luxury ships are and what they are. And I saw the 890 jump, and I want one of those so badly. Just like literally, I looked at the new 8290 and I'm just like, oh, that is so good. That looks so good for me. I was so excited by the fact that I get a swimming pool.
Yeah.
I'm just going to cruise up and down that swimming pool. That is like the Pablo Escobar of ships, like, and it's 200 meters. I was like, dude, that's enormous.
Will you have an escape tunnel underneath your toilet?
You're going to have something under your toilet. A lot of drugs probably under the toilet of the 890. That's for sure. That is like, if you had bought this, is, I always think this is the winners and the losers, in the StarCitizen kind of buying game. And I think the people that bought the 890, there was lots of people who were kind of going, you crazy fool, that's just a waste of money. And then it's the same with the 600i, but actually the way they buffed the 600i and the shields and the maneuverability and stuff, it's become actually a really powerful ship. And I think there was like, and also I get luxury now within StarCitizen. I didn't get it before. And now I look at the 890 and I'm just going, that is going to be so much fun to be on board. Do you know what I mean? Just like, I think that might be more fun than a Carrack.
That's really personal.
No, it's just for me. I know it's totally personal opinion, but I just think that will be more, like, that could be more fun. And you talk about doing things on board a ship as well for these long travel times. I was just like, that could be a lot of fun. Like, there could be the shit to do on that. You know what I mean? You go swimming, you can play games. It's going to be more interactive. It's going to have potentially more things to do than going on an Idris. Go play basketball, maybe. What are they going to do? What would you do? What would be your suggestion that they're going to put on an Idris to make things interesting?
I don't know.
Sweep the floor?
Probably do some engineering stuff, but if everything is working, that's not even necessary. But
just random fires to keep you busy. That's some little
I know what I would rather be doing.
arsonist elf on your ship.
Drinking beer, going to like kind of doing some karaoke. Maybe they'll have like one of those stupid dance machine thingies.
I think they should
versus going on the Idris.
But they should implement some generic stuff into the game, which you can do on every ship.
If they get Satterball working, you could just have a 0G chamber that you can go in and start fighting each other on.
Exactly.
0G, and everyone's just like, a bit like the holodeck in Star Trek or something.
Tron style. You just think of Tron, on the holodecks and stuff. No, but I mean, like I was saying, like right now, I was just thinking of the way the game is, and I'm just like, I think I can have more fun on the A90 than I'm going to have on an Idris. You know what I mean? I was like really tempting.
Get a pond and you can fish.
Yeah, pond and fish. So I just, and the fact that it's got a med bay now, and I don't care about anyone's like that makes it really interesting as well, because now you're going to be able to heal yourself. You know what I mean? Like before I was like, but now, especially with obviously, we don't know yet 100%, but obviously with the death of a spaceman and how important potentially having your life will be or whatever else, having the med bay on the 890 jump now, it makes that even more appealing. There's no question in my mind. It makes it, and it carries 285Xs. You get one with it. I don't know how big the bay will be, but I'm guessing if you can fit 285Xs, you might be able to fit something a bit bigger. So that means you could potentially have a fighter with it. I don't know. I'd have to do the measurements. I haven't done the measurements on it. No one kill me now. But if it fits, it fits type of thing. Do you know what I mean?
Would you want to own it, or would you want to just travel on one?
I want to own one. It's always been one of my ships. If in terms of endgame
I thought you
ships,
didn't
I've always
like
looked at
luxury
it.
ship.
I didn't, but that's what I said. Like, I didn't like it. I'm not
I
lying.
know,
I
but not just
genuinely
that.
didn't get
I
luxury.
just didn't.
No,
yeah.
no.
Okay. Yeah.
I didn't get it. I didn't get luxury. I'm happy.
But now
to
you've
admit it.
travelled
I
for
mean,
10 minutes to get to fucking Hurston. It's
and
like,
now I've done the traveling.
now
Yeah, I'm like, do you know what? I kind of like the idea of wandering around an enormous spaceship with swimming
It's all-
pools and
all
Madness
about
is
the chilling
going
with
all
a cigar.
posh.
It's gone.
Madness.
It's going like the opposite from fucking Toby. Like Toby probably started out as a luxury pilot that loved to fly in luxury, and then he went like saw red and turned into this like fighting beast. And Manus has gone from his fighting beast to the less. The longer he has withdrawal from combat, the more he's turning to Grandad with his slippers and his cigar, and it's like I'm gonna get my pool table, my jacuzzi, my champagne, and I'm just gonna sit there as we.
just
Couple of girls on the side.
getting fatter and fatter, turning into like just
Night.
I do love the idea of it, and I don't know what it is. I saw it. I think it's because it looks so pretty now. It looks so pretty.
It does.
It
I'm
really
glad I
does look
would like to
pretty.
visit you sometimes when you own one.
God,
Get
I
me on
want
board.
one. I really, Jabba the Man exactly as not getting fat like a Jabba. I like literally just roll. That was my vision. Was like I would earn enough money and I'd like be kind of like a baron or type of thing, and then you have this just amazing 890, and I can't wait to see. I can't wait for the customization of these things as well. So you can kind of make it your own a little bit and do the coloring, and I just can't wait. It just looks. I'm sorry. I literally fell in love with the new look of it versus the old one. The old one, I didn't really like it, but the new one, I was like, yeah, that's really, really pretty. Really pretty. And like I said, and I get luxury now. I just get it. I don't know what I didn't get it before, but I get it now. So yeah, like
You need
it's just a lot of money.
Big cleaning crew to get that thing all shiny.
I know.
Spotless.
I know. Well, we'll hire a couple aliens that are poor if you need to work. We'll hire it. So what else was it not in? So the rover's not been in. I was surprised about. I was genuinely surprised about that because I was just thinking to myself, well, okay then. So if the X1's not in and the rovers are not in, that means maybe there's not a huge focus. I mean, the reality. Sorry, my brain's going in a few places here. Obviously, the Squadron 42 is their focus this year. We know that Squadron 42 potentially will be out at the end of this year or whatever next year, early next year, maybe. Who knows? Okay, we just know this. That's the focus. It's written. It's all behind the scenes. Everybody that knows anything about anything knows the Squadron 42. I mean, obviously, Sandy spilled it, and it's just so much stuff that's completely un-NDA. It's ridiculous. So the worst kept secret in the world, Squadron 42 is coming. So, the fact that here's my other reason. If they're working on the Carrack, okay, if they're working on the Carrack this year, that means because the Carrack was never part of Squadron 42, that can only mean one of two things in my head. Either one, they've just got bored and they just want to answer the fans, or more than likely, the team resources that were working on stuff for Squadron 42 have been freed up, and now they're able to work on a ship called the Carrick. And also the fact that this team potentially is going to be moving on to the BMM straight after, 100% guarantees that in my head that Squadron 42 is seriously close to being done.
You heard it here first, guys.
100%.
Squadron 42 next week.
Yeah, no, seriously, like if they got the team, I mean,
that's why there's no Christmas stream.
Doing my shit. Josh is working on my ship. I am super excited. I couldn't believe it's like I'm a big Josh. I think Josh gets details, sweats the details. I think there's obviously very, very talented designers at CIG, no question. But I'm a bit of a Coons fan, and he is working on the Banu Defender. And when I heard that, I was just like super excited because I think that's going to be. I'm so happy. I was like, and I've got one, and I'm just.
I just need an alien ship that's actually decent. That's all I'm after. That's hopefully that's it. I have got that in ready and waiting for a while now.
Yeah. So I'm just anyway. So for me, it's like Squadron 42 definitely on its way. And the resources are coming, and I'm expecting to see a shit ton of new ships next year. And it looks like all the capital ships, the big ships, are still not going to happen for a bit longer, which is fine. It means we're going to get a plethora of new, smaller ships, I expect, next year.
I wonder what some of the newer people were thinking in RTV when they were trying to say it may not be done in 2019, it may not be done in 2020, it may be done in 2021. It's like, so if you think that development's going to be finished soon, Yeah, it's not because
No,
they're
no,
even
no.
confirming that another whole year without some of these ships. So I think that's going to be. I haven't heard much from people in the public saying much about that, but I'm surprised that hasn't kind of gone a bit louder, especially considering some of the ships they mentioned saying, "Yeah, that's not going to come out for another year."
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. But I think what it is obviously, like I say, like the fact is that they move teams around depending on projects. You know what I mean? So that the resources that they have moves around. So the ships, like we were talking about, like they talk about some of these ships not ready. I'm always surprised that they don't want to do these bigger ships. You know what I mean? I'm always surprised they don't want to just get them done. Like we were saying, but then I guess the problem is they're not
Well,
good quality.
yeah, I mean, they were saying like, what's the point in having the whole sea in the air that doesn't do anything? And I'm thinking, well, you say that now, but when the game first came out and we all backed it and there was nothing, but you couldn't even get your hangar, and then the hangar came out, people were very happy to be able to just spawn their ship and walk around it in the hangar. So there is an element where actually, you know what, if it's that ready that we can just walk around and have a look at it, I bet you a good amount of people would want that, even without the mechanic. Because we've already got that.
but...
And on the same argument, we've got ships in the verse that the mechanics don't work for anyway. So
we are getting a little bit spoiled right now because we're getting more and more sooner as before, but the burnout is getting quicker. It's
oh yeah.
we've got Lorville now. We've got the planet Hurston with the moons, and we got the new business district coming up. Am I excited for it? Yes, I am. Do I think that I will be playing it for months on a time? I don't think so, but
Depends what you do. I mean, I will be if the flight mechanic comes
but
out. I'll be on it.
I
all the
think
time.
exactly. But that will not be in 3.4. So
no,
as long
they've
as
already
that's
said that
not
it's in
in,
3.5. So yeah, there's no point.
they can release new ships. But if that ship can't work with a specific mechanic, which is still not in the game, yeah, what are you gonna do? Fly around with your whole sea?
Yeah.
I get it. I mean, I do get it. I do get it.
I
I think
mean-
I see both sides. I see both. I see Miz's side in terms of like, you know, I mean, how cool would it be for people to have spawn the Kraken, you know, in a big hangar or whatever, and be able to look at it like they could do the Idris. If you could, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, they showed the Idris is there. So how cool would it be to have your Idris in a hangar and you can walk around it and have a look at it, and it's kind of it's there to enjoy. Like they showed us at the thing, you know, it's
Yeah,
I get
but
that side
not
of things.
for
I
long.
get it.
It's
What you
not
mean?
gonna.
No, you're not.
It's not
No.
gonna keep you busy till 3.5, 3.6, and so on and so on.
No, it's not gonna. Well, it's certainly not gonna keep you busy. I agree. And I get it. I just kind of like. I just think some of the ships. It's like, well, why can't the Starliner be done? It's just a public. It's just a passenger traveling ship. Do you know what I mean? It's
That's
like
one
we
of
do
those that
all
could
the
be
time.
done. Yeah, yeah.
Like we are already transporting people in terms of when when people get stuck at lead ski or lag ski or whatever, how
Exactly,
great would it be
yeah.
to take a Starliner down and say, hey everybody, I've got a burn a Starliner, everybody jump on board. You know, that would be great. You know, that would be fun. I've never understood that one.
I don't know if that's so much being spoilt though, like as in that terms. It's just more of a case that we've been playing the game for so long. Like we backed back in like 2014.
It's spoiled for the older backers, I think.
Yeah, but it's
Once
just
we
like
were.
say this content wasn't out, we would be bored of what the fuck we had before. Like I think most of us before, when we had that big drought before 3.0, most of us were at an edge of just doing those fucking ICC missions over and over again. We were all getting to the point where it's like I'm going to scratch my eyes out if I have to do this one more day. So
Yeah, but we did it for a long time.
We did do it for a long time, but whereas someone new to StarCitizen may well do the Hurston running around looking at the planet for a long, long time compared to what we've done. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's because we've spent a lot of time in there already. So to us, although this new stuff's here, it's new to look at. It's not necessarily new content.
Exactly. No, for us, the boredom strikes faster than for a completely new person to StarCitizen. I do agree on that. Yeah,
of course. But then again, also as an older backer, for other people, I'm not super old, but for other people who are very old, it must kind of be a bit of a pang to the to your kind of like a bit of a kick in the teeth or a kick in the nuts when you see all these new, like the last 2 ships, I think concept ships, in theory concept ships, other than the Santa Coya, the ships are being direct to flight. Do you know what I mean? It must feel a little bit like, oh, do you know what? Like, shit. Why could they get those ones done? You know, I could understand. It's not like it's. I don't. That's my personal view on it. My personal view on it is CIG. They do what they want to do to build the game. They do whatever they want. At the end of the day, it's their game. But I can understand why people feel a little bit like, oh, that kind of hurts. You know what I mean? Why people get a little bit upset about it. They're like, you can get that ship ready direct to flight, but you can't get my, you know, X1 Force whatever. Or,
but to be fair, they explain pretty obvious and pretty decently why that was the case, and most of it is because it's Squadron 42. So like even the Valkyrie, they said it replaced the Redeemer as the dropship. So they needed it. If you want them to get Squadron 42 out the door, they're the ships they're going to concentrate on, and they've never denied that. They've said that is their main focus.
Pretty quiet. They
kept it quiet, but
they've kept that very quiet. The Redeemer, the Redeemer's been hanging on for how many sales has the Redeemer?
Yeah, I mean, communication-wise, there was no reason why they couldn't have just said, "We're dropping this." Maybe they didn't know. Maybe it's like, well, because he did say they kept pecking at the Redeemer, kept changing this. Okay, this will get it to work, and then someone else says, "Well, no, we need to now change this," and they kept pecking at it, and then go, "Look, this just isn't working," which is why they then came up with these new ships. So, I mean, the Squadron 42 is a huge reason why we're getting some of these ships. The other reason he said, which makes as much sense, is that although I don't know why they don't go back to the old concept ones, but basically the new concept ships, for them to even deliver it as a concept ship in the first place, and you'll probably notice when they go to sell those as well, is they have a shit ton more information on day one of selling that concept. So there's normally more pictures, more the idea of the size, what it's going to do, and everything is in more detail. And he says they fleshed that out a hell of a lot more. So to take that from concept to finished, it's already gone through a lot more passes rather than the old stuff. So the old stuff was literally, hang on, mate, let me just scribble on a piece of paper, right, we want it with wings and a cargo bay. Oh, there you go. That's concept, go and sell it. Which means nothing's fleshed out at all. So for them to then go back and make that ship would have to go and spend a shit ton of time doing all the research, the development. Like they literally just had an artist. It's like Jay Lee. He said he's got like hundreds of costumes. It's like him saying, right, let's go and put all them on concept sale. None of them are anything more fleshed out than one single drawing, which I get. I suppose the only thing that you could argue is why don't they go back and flesh out those concepts then, rather than just keep bringing out new concepts. That's probably more of an argument. Yeah. I mean, again, I think there's cases for a lot of the stuff, isn't there? I mean, I've said this about the Tony Z kind of, you know, his kind of similar type of thing. It can be quite vague at times and all over the place, but then sometimes it can be super specific. I'm guessing, I mean, it's just that's part of the way I think things are built, and it gives us lots to talk about, which is actually really cool that you can't do this for most games. You know what I mean? So yeah.
I agree. I think, like I said, it's not my personal view. Like my personal view is very clear. CIG, they can do what they want to do, but this is very much kind of like this. It's a raging topic that continues to go on within the community between people. You know, I've said it before. I said that I've always wanted CIG to deliver closer to release concepts. I would rather them say, "Here's this ship, the Santa Coya, and it's going to be released in 4 patches." Do you know what I mean?
Like another year.
That's the way I look at it.
Yeah,
I've always felt that they should do that. They should say this ship is here and it's going to be released in 4 patches. The fact that they've been releasing ships and then literally direct to flight is just surprised the hell out of me, and it's a good surprise. But I still feel actually that they would probably get a better sell, and potentially they could get a good read on the stuff if they did it like that. But that's just my view on it. I like the Santa Coya, for example. I didn't buy it this sell because I have no idea when that ship's going to be released.
Yeah.
Zero idea. And I just can't do that. Whereas the Banu Merchantman, the Defender, I upgraded to because I know that it's coming in 2 patches. In theory, things do change. I know they do knock ships out if they're not ready, but I think there's a greater chance of that. So
I think like Snake Eater has a good point though in terms of the fact that another reason why some things are getting done before others is because of the whole style sheet, and they did explain that as well, which is. We've now, because we've made this for Squadron 42, we have the style for their type of ships, therefore we can implement that on this ship, and getting bigger and upwards. And so I think what we're seeing now is more, they're picking a type of ship for each manufacturer and saying, right, let's make that our style guide, and then we'll all go on from that. and I think that's why we're seeing certain ones being done as well. But I
love it. Heavy Bob comes in. It's like doing a podcast. Just for anyone knowing, I've been doing this time slot podcast for 2 fucking years. Just throwing it out there. glad you figured that out.
You've noticed.
So rude. What he means is welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining us.
The StarCitizen. Welcome everyone. Just so anyone knows that yes, I've been doing a podcast for 2 years in this time slot. Just throwing it out there for StarCitizen. Jesus, I've been around a while. Too long, far too long. Actually, let's talk about the Carrick, because we're talking about like just ships and stuff. Now, a lot of people, there's a lot of hate on the fact that the Carrick was 123 meters long when it was first posted. Then the Carrick was they said, oh, because all the ships were getting like these huge big things, like the Cutlass suddenly got bigger, and then another ship got bigger, and another one got bigger, and then they suddenly said, oh, the Carrick is now going to be 170 meters long, and then everybody was like, ooh, I'm going to get my money's worth. Do you know what I mean? Everyone was like, yeah, my money's worth coming. Fantastic. I'm going to get a big bonus. And then CIG went, actually, it's only going to be 2 meters bigger. It's going to be pretty much the same size as it was. And then everybody lost their shit about this. And I was like, why? It's still bigger, or is as big as the 600i. It's got a freaking all these extra things that are being on it. I was like, what's the problem? Why does everyone lost their shit over it? So please, someone tell me, why is everyone being upset about this?
I honestly, I'm with you on that. I just all this morning I was like, well, what the fuck are people on about? Like, it's bigger than, like, just because when it was sold, when you bought it as concept, it's got bigger. So only 2 meters, but it's got bigger. So what are they moaning at? It's like,
for some people, it's about the size instead of the function.
But people are saying it got nerfed. How can something be nerfed when it wasn't made? It wasn't fucking made. It was all concept. It was all being talked about. So it's still doing exactly what it's supposed to do. So how the fuck has it been nerfed? It was one day they said, oh, we might need to make it 170. And then they thought, no, that doesn't work, so we're going to shrink it. That's about it. It's like, you can't say...
They shrunk it, and they even made it a bit better with the landing gear and stuff, in my opinion.
But they didn't shrink it.
Nice.
It looks cool.
Looks nice.
If it was never made, they didn't shrink it.
It looks... Yeah, well, exactly. They didn't make it, so it was just a proposal that they just said that potentially the ship's going to get bigger, so it's going to be up to 170. So then I was like, well, it's gone back down again. Like I say, smaller ships are better. If you look at the 600i's maneuverability in a fighting situation makes it. It's got big guns. It can maneuver itself. If you know how to fly a ship, anyone here that doesn't know how to fly a big ship, you stick that thing into decoupled, you whack it into reverse, and you put your thrusters and you go up to max. Anything coming at you potentially will struggle to get around you, and you'll be right in your front view, and you shoot the shit out of it with your big guns. Okay, if the anvil's got anything near the armament that it's potentially going to have, and good shields, it's going to be a good ship to have. So in terms of just survivability, being smaller, if it was a big ass ship, doing that will take you a lot longer, and it's going to be a big target. It's going to be much harder to do. So you want it smaller. Seriously, you really do want it to be a smaller ship. It's better to get around, better to do things. It does everything it needs to do. I really didn't understand it. I understand what one person said in chat, which I agree. I think it was Heavy Bob said. And he's right. This is the thing that upset some people, is because they saw the price increase. They saw I don't know how much it was originally at concept. And then obviously they're like, well, for 2 extra square meters, it's gone up, what, $50 or $100 or something from when it was originally shown?
I don't know how much it's gone up, but yeah. They put that up because they know it's popular.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is I think that's wrong from CIG, because CIG has always said that the price of the ships are based on the components that it has. Now, if the components on the Anvil Carrack had increased and you got better components and better parts, I agree with the ship. Even if it was just a few pieces, it's a little bit bigger. That doesn't really matter, because we know from the Cutlass, when they increase the size of a vehicle, that doesn't actually end up affecting the price of it. The Cutlass never went up in price. So therefore, there was no, I think, interestingly enough,
yeah, the Cutlass didn't, no.
And it didn't. It stayed the same, but its size got bigger. So therefore, it's like size doesn't obviously have an impact on the actual value of a ship. It's the components on the ship that has based on what I've been reading and what they were explaining, because that's how they base the price of the ships in game. is based on the component part and what's actually goes into it. I think there's probably a few other bits as well, but I do think if they've done it based on popularity, shame on you, CIG. That's not what you should be doing it based on. It should be based on the ship's components. And so if the ship's components are better now, then it's good. Like the 890 jump, for example, now has a med bay. So now it's worth more money because there's a shit ton more components on that. Makes sense. Do you know what I mean?
And I get what the Red Bear is saying, that in terms of they shrunk it and you was expecting it to be bigger, and it's not just the size, it's like don't just shrink it to fit on a pad. But the difference between like the 890 jump is it was sold as a big ship in the first place. The Carrack initially wasn't sold as 170 meters long. I suppose what the argument would be and is and as Nog said, like they've said that they put all the stuff in that the Carrack needed and it grew to 170. So then they shrunk it back down again. Does it still have everything that it needed? What have they compromised on to shrink it back down? Now, the real argument then is it away from what the concept was originally sold as, or is it still doing what the concept said? Like, so I saw the Red Bear said something about like having individual bunks. I mean, I've wanted an individual fucking room for people to live in on all the ships I've had for fucking so long now, like on any size ship. But like, if that's what it was promised as, say, in concept, and then they've changed it just to make it smaller so that it fits on a landing pad, then yeah, that is shit. But I don't know what the concept style of the Carrick was like on day of concept. But mostly, that's what I've said to people a lot of time, like, because you do it all the time, Manish. You're looking at what ship do I buy, let's have a look at what all the layout out is. And I said to you, and I know why you do it, because it's something that you've got to judge it on something, I suppose. But I say, like, don't expect it to be what it says, because this is concept. So all you're expecting it is, as long as it performs the role that it said it was going to do, when you're buying the role, for example, that's what you're buying. You're not buying what's in it. You're not buying the filling. You're buying the BAP on the outside. Just
to give a little kind of a brief thing to like what you were saying there in terms of how I do what I do. So I will look at obviously the component parts. I'm often looking at the hard points is the big thing that I'm looking at, and I'm also looking at the component parts like the engine sizes and the fuel things, and then I'm judging by what they're promising me as well. So I'm taking it's generally a pinch of salt, and then I'm looking at a few variations of things. I'm looking at when the ship's going to be out. I'm looking at the hard points. I'm looking at the components. I'm looking at things how useful this ship will be in my fleet, because I'm going to be stripping parts out often of the ships because I don't want to have to pay for them with in-game money, because I often haven't got the time to make the £1 million or whatever it is to keep running this shit. So I'm looking at these ships, how they're going to best fit within my fleet and how I can shuffle things around, so it's very much that's the kind of the process. So sometimes a ship might not necessarily deliver what I need it to, but it's got the components that are really juicy for the time being, and I'll get that. It's kind of a new thing that's happened for me recently. I never used to do it. I used to buy the ship purely based on its job role. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a fighter. I want a fighter. That's an exploration ship. I want an exploration ship. That's, it's become a bit more of a science now for me, which is really weird. It didn't used to be, but now that I've obviously over the years, and I think a lot of other people here, it's becoming a bit more like a spreadsheet. You're kind of like, I hate to say it, but you're becoming more like, okay, what does that ship actually provide me at the moment so that I can play it? Okay, it's doing this, and it's giving me this, and it's giving me this loner, which gives me these guns. Brilliant. Do you know what I mean? Okay, this ship's not doing anything for me. Get rid of it. The ship's giving me this, and that will change.
You're almost juggling it, especially with the CCU, and you're juggling it to what. And I did the same this hour. It's like, well, I want the Mercury, but it's not flight ready for fuck knows how long. So I need to find what ship I can have that I'm going to enjoy playing with now, which has got nothing to do with the ship that I actually want. So yeah. It's I think that's what's going, and that's why we get all this CCU and juggling, because people. I mean, I always take the piss. In my Discord, it happens a lot. There's a few people that do like to melt pretty much every time a concept ship comes out, and I'm like, well, you haven't even got anywhere near the first ship that you bought, and you're melting it. It's like at first it didn't really make sense, but I know they get it so that they can get the buyback and stuff, but. It just seems funny. It's like you're buying a house and then you're selling it before you even move through the front door of it, so that you can get the next house that's potentially being built that's not going to be built, because you're going to sell that one before it's built, and then get to the next. It's like that all the time.
But I got punished for that mindset, though, Miz. See, that was for the opposite mindset. So the mindset of like having my ship and not CCUing it. Because for anyone that's been obviously following my Twitter, you will know that I won a BritizenCon. I won the dogfighting competition. I won an Aquila, and I was given it. Now it's a wonderful prize, Aquila. Oh my god, I didn't. And I'm not being upset about it. At the end of the day, I won this wonderful ship, and it's great. But the ship has always appeared in my inbox as a ship that could be CCU'd up. So I bought a few years, I think it was a year ago, I bought a CCU from another player because he had one. He said, I have an Aquila to a Carrack upgrade CCU. And he bought it. And I was like, great, I'll buy it off him because he didn't need it. So I bought
If you
it
got
off him. He
popcorn,
gifted it to me.
go get it now.
He gifted it to me. Yeah, sorry, popcorn. It's a long story. So he gifted it to me, and it's not that long. He gifted it to me, and I never used the CCU because for anyone that knows anything about the Carrick, the loaner was the Aquila. So I was like, well, I already have the Aquila. I don't need to apply the CCU. I have no interest in applying the CCU because I still don't know what the Carrick is going to be like. It's being in sale for ages. I have no idea. So I'll just keep it. I never applied the CCU. Only recently, I changed my mind. I'm a dogfighter. I really enjoy combat, so I wanted a glaive. So this sale, I bought a CCU from that Aquila to a glaive. It shows up on my account. It says I can do it. I went to apply the glaive CCU up, and it didn't work because this ship is supposedly a special ship because I asked concierge, and concierge says you couldn't do it. Now, the next year, winner for the Britizen competition, Mad Rambo, was given an LTI ship given to him from CIG, but it doesn't have a specific like my one, but he was just given this LTI from CIG, and he was able to upgrade his ship twice. So I was fucking irritated beyond belief. Let's put it that way. So CIG's response as well to this, by the way, is I now have 2 CCUs that I cannot use that cost me a lot of money for me. For anyone, for some people it's not a lot of money, but for me it's a lot of money that I can't potentially use. And CIG's response to me was to close my query instantly and say solved. I was just like, what? Like, are you serious? Are you serious, CIG? You think that's solved? Like anyone else here, if you open a line of things, it's solved normally pretty much 90% of the time when the person that's actually put it in says it's solved, not when CIG's response is that. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, damn. So anyway, if you want to know, go check out my Twitter. I'll link it in chat or whatever. I couldn't believe it, but I was just like, at the end of the day, if you don't want to do it and it's a special prize, I get it, and that's fine. And I don't mind having the special prize in my invoice. I can't CC you. But make sure you tell me before I actually invest money. And the other people have been having the same problem. It's not just me. Other winners from other competitions that CIG have backed have had found that some of their ships are able to be CCU'd up and some of them aren't. And it's not just me. So yeah, it's pretty it's not just me, which I was going to find out, as a lot of other people have recently, especially this sale, because a lot of people have been shifting ships. And because like I said, the Connie, I hate to say it, is quite disappointing as a ship. And I was like, well, I think the glaive is better and I want that. So anyway, we'll see what happens. I'll tell you guys and I'll keep you informed on Twitter and everything else that CIG responds to me, how it goes. But at the moment, very disappointed with the CIG.
And I totally agree with you, and I did say it like a few casts back that there's a lot CIG do right, and then there's some things that they just do so fucking wrong, and they do it so badly, and it's like, for fuck's sake, what are you doing? But you know, like, it's all, like you said, basically, it's all fair and good. If you can't CCU it up, that's fine. It was a gift, blah blah blah. But don't sell it under the pretense that you can. CCU up, because like if I've got a package that can't be gifted, the gift tab is not there. In fact, even on the Gladius the free one that I got, I can't. They won't let me melt it anymore because obviously it's got no value. So they've actually taken that melt button away. You can CCU it up, but you can't melt it. You can't do the exchange thing. So, like, yeah, if you couldn't CC it up, it shouldn't have been listed in your ships to CC you up. And the fact that you paid actual money to get that, they need to 100% refund the money, not just give you store credit either. Like, they didn't put on there that it can't be done. Yeah. And so, therefore, they're at fault for not telling you that.
I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm pretty sure if you were to contact trading standards, I'm pretty sure you'd have a fairly strong case in terms of like misinformation. I'm pretty sure of that, because that's But I really don't want the money back though. This is the thing. I actually want my ship. I just want them to give me the damn ship. Do you know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
it's not. I don't care about, and I love the fact that I've got the Britizen Con thing, and it's and it's special. But I hate to say it. At the end of the day, I want to have something I'm going to use all the
I
time.
don't want a Connie.
The Connie is just not any good anymore. It was great. I was all excited about the Connie. I was really happy. And when I do spawn the ship, there is a little bit of magic inside where you kind of go, I want that ship. You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, if I can upgrade it and they don't do it, fine. Just give me my money back. But the fact that the previous year's champion has upgraded his twice, it's just like, what? It's crazy. Anyway,
Do you think
sorry,
it's because like you weren't really the
and
champion?
he got a medal as well.
Because you
He got a
wasn't
medal
really the
carved out
champion.
and everything. It's crazy. The first tester of myself. Yeah, always the first iteration. I'm like the first iteration ship. Crap. Need to upgrade it. Anyway, sorry. That was my experience with CIG. They were pretty good. They were pretty good on responding within a couple of days, considering how busy the period was. I was actually quite impressed. So CIG, well done on Concierge. You know, you got back to me within 2 days, which was, I got to give them props to that.
That
especially as it was, like,
£1,000
the
gets you
sales
something.
Yeah.
it gets you something. Yeah, exactly.
And they got closed within 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it got closed instantly. I was like, fuck, brilliant, guys. Thanks. Has anyone here got a Prowler? Anyone in chat got a Prowler? You must be excited. The Prowler is coming this year, it seems. So that's exciting. Another alien ship coming. If you like alien ships, that will have the Banu Defender and the Prowler, and then whatever else is coming. That's exciting. Thanks to Heavy Bob, by the way. Appreciate that, dude. I'll check out your emails and stuff later, dude. Appreciate it. Is anyone here got any other alien ships that they were excited about? Do you think we're going to see more alien ships this year than ever before?
I think if we get Squadron 42, maybe we'll start seeing some. Do you think we're going to have much more of the captured Vandal stuff? I suppose. I don't know how many they want us to have of alien ships. I hope that they do. I mean, I'm more. I've always been this in any sci-fi fantasy game though. Like I find being human boring because I got that in my fucking life all the time. So I like to be aliens and alien stuff and things that don't look like the norm. Like a lot of the human ships look like planes that we already have or ships that we already have. I like difference. So I'm really hoping that the alien side of things will get more integrated. I hope that we will see more Banu stuff and more Xi'an stuff. You know, like as it builds up and say that we trade with them and making the ships compatible, sort of thing. Maybe less on the Vandal side because we are at war with them. So I think the Vandal stuff could be much more interesting as a in-game conquest type of thing. So as a reward to the players if they all got together and beat back an attack on a planet or something, then some ships were captured and the manufacturer develops it or something. Like that's definitely much better to have as a story-driven thing. I mean, even normal ships, I suppose, could go down that route. And the more you trade with the Banu, the more your reputation increases, the more you get their ships. But I suppose at some point we need to see AI that we're not controlling. So will we start seeing ships that maybe we can't fly, but we will get to see? So you'll see Banu coming in, and like when we eventually see all that, I don't know.
Maybe. I mean, I'd love for CIG. They talked about having loads of new ships. Maybe that could be, a way that they'll just kind of tease us for a while. They'll kind of like throw in they'd be like, what the hell? NPC ships are now like new ships. That would be crazy cool. People would be spending ages trying to break into them right now.
Yeah.
That would be like that would be the new thing is like, new NPC ships, and like everyone's like on YouTube, I broke into this ship. It would be I'd like it. I would definitely be down for that type of thing. Maybe if they did like when Lawville comes, they could show us loads of like, maybe there'd be a couple alien ships secretly in the background and stuff, not Lawville, sorry, what's the other one? Sorry, ArcCorp, sorry, not Lawville, ArcCorp. When they bring ArcCorp in, and they could have all the like alien ships and stuff in the background flying overhead and stuff. That'd be great. I'd like that a lot. That would be super cool. Bring a Kraken, because didn't they do it recently? They had the Idris and the Kraken and stuff in game, so why not have an Idris and a Javelin kind of flying over ArcCorp and coming into land into Lawville? That would be amazing. I like
it.
That.
Would. I think that. I mean, they said like what ship was it? Is it the no, one of the ship, a couple of the ships. They said that you've between patch 2.5 and 3.0 or something like that. They've added the hatches and things like that, and they didn't announce it. They just changed the ship so that it would accept the components and stuff. I would love that if like you were just at Lawville and they didn't announce it. Just all of a sudden, if you're lucky enough, you happen to be looking out and an alien ship takes off, or, like ships you haven't seen. Like you said, just like just implement it and see who catches on. And it's like, oh fuck, hang on, what the fuck is that? And it's a Banu trader or something like taking off. That would be pretty cool.
That would be awesome.
Very cool. Very cool.
You'd be like, chase that fucking ship, chase it.
You're not gonna get it.
Yeah, that would. We talked about we talked about a little bit earlier, actually, which is kind of related to this, is like in terms of things that are needed or not needed. We talked about NPCs and AI and mission givers and stuff. Like, that's one of the reasons why, the gameplay and stuff is just still not quite as exciting for lots of people. And we were talking about like why they haven't upgraded it or why haven't they shown stuff. And I was thinking about this the other day. Like, we talked about this before, is that why would they update something if potentially it's going to have a huge overhaul? Like putting that, like maybe the reason why this stuff is not being updated is because they are literally going to strip the guts out of it and put in a whole new set of stuff. And that's the reason why it's just like, well, there's no point fixing it because we need to do a huge amount of changes to it. I was thinking about this the other day, like how they did like before we moved to item 2.0, there was loads of things, and then they suddenly put in item 2.0 and other things into the game, and it was like, that's the reason. The same with the flight model. It's like maybe certain things, like I don't spend a lot of time doing dogfighting at the moment because I know there's a new flight model coming, and it's the same for them. Maybe they know what's coming, so there's no point doing it yet. Does that make sense?
That is kind of what I was on about earlier when I said to you, why upgrade the ships if you know that there's going to be a change coming. But yeah, I mean, they have already said that I can't remember what one it was, but I'm sure there was one of the ATVs or something. They said that they're just not touching it because they'll change like the panels and where you can put the components, but they said they're not messing with it because they knew the new flight mechanic will affect it, basically. And then also this whole new state change thing. That will affect how some ships can be rerun and flied. So yeah, I do think there is an element that there's no point in them keep fucking with stuff when they're working on until they, like you said before, it's difficult because especially for Squadron 42, you do need certain aspects to be completely fucking locked down. And why you keep changing everything and juggling, we'll tweak this ship and then the flight mechanic changes and it flies differently again. It's like there's no point keep tweaking that when that needs to be fixed. So yeah, I'm hoping that, like you said, they'll get a point where this is the flight mechanic. We need to nail it down. It needs to be this. And then stuff can be based off of it a bit more. Because, I mean, it's again back to what we said about the concepts and even the ships now that are on sale. Like, they've already, like, a lot of the ships this last patch, well, not 3.3.7, but, they said that they changed all the loadouts, sorry. So all the loadouts of the guns and everything changed. So it's all to do with balance. So they expect that sort of stuff to change a lot anyway. This is why the concept is never going to be as solid as what you're going to get, because it's until they get certain mechanics locked down, they can't guarantee what the ship is going to have on it. It's just the easiest. I don't know. It's difficult because we want to know, because we want people are purchasing it, people are wanting to play it, and like you said, in the end, it becomes what suits me now. So you're buying for what suits you now rather than what you want in the end of the game when it comes out, because we don't know if that's going to change.
Yeah, no, 100% agree, miss. Like it's exactly that, man. Exactly that. Sorry, I was having a little bit of the red brown red beer. I didn't say they were broken. I've never said the 600 shields are fine, dude. I don't want to type it. I can't bother to type it. I'm like, they're fine. The 600i has not got broken shields, from what I understand. It's got hammerhead shields, so that's why it's so fucking strong. Which is a good thing, by the way.
But again, on all of that, they've already said we want time to disable, so all that shit's going to be different. All that once they got the flight mechanic now down, that's probably what they'll next concentrate on. How do we get these fights to be the right length? How do we get them so that you disable ships rather than take them out? Because again, that's hard to sort that out when we don't know what the flight mechanics are. Because are you shooting at the cockpit? Are you shooting at the engines? Is things hitting as it should do? They've already said that armor. Chris wants armor to be more than just a multiplier. He wants it to be an iterative thing, so you can actually damage a ship's armor. So much stuff that still needs to be worked on. before they can even begin to balance ships. So that's why even like calling, like even shouting for things being nerfed at the moment, there's to a degree there's no such thing until they get the balance right. And even the Carrack, right? They might implement it at 1.25, and then okay, it's probably unlikely to grow again. But they might change things to make it more balanced with other ships in line that they want it to be balanced with. So.
Yeah, we need a good baseline, and a lot of tweaks will happen, and how it will end.
Yeah, just fascinating because we have an interesting conversation in chat. We're talking about the shields, and I just kind of want to bring it into the forefront of what we're talking about, which is about shields and stuff. And I like you saying about the balancing stuff. It's not really there. Here's a question for you guys, because I just posed it to one of the guys. Is I don't think it's right that a single fighter should be able to take out. Do you think that a single fighter ship should be able to pretty much destroy almost every ship in game? Do you think that should be a thing? I don't think that should be a thing.
No.
That's just ridiculous. I think there comes a point when a ship cannot kill another ship. But there does seem to be this thinking that you should be able to kill everything with a single.
Because, I think Jared said on one of the RTVs, he said everybody wants their favourite ship to be the one. And that's the problem, is that I want this ship to be the one that can do it all.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I played Jumpgate, which is a game I compare back to a lot of time, and like I said, I know it's an old game, but it was an MMO. It's like some of these big cargo haulers were so massive, they could have such big shield-sized components that smaller. Like I remember one of the tactics of the pirate organizer org I was with, they basically used these scout ships because they were extremely fast, but they only had one gun on the front, and on its own it did fuck all. In a big swarm, all focus firing, you could take shit down. And so people will use that. But on like a trading cargo that had the biggest shield you can get, bigger than any fighting ship, you just couldn't dent it. It could just fly, and you'd be shooting and shooting and shooting. And because what it was, the shields would recharge before your guns could overheat and burn through its shields. Yeah. And you've got to imagine, if you've got big fucking ships that are doing that, you don't want an Aurora to come and fucking take you down with all its missiles and that, and then take it out, because it just doesn't feel right. It should never be doing that. 10 Auroras,
exactly,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, it's just because I've been doing this. I've been flying against this. The six. Whenever I find there's a ship that has super strong shields or anything that's really strong, I love to find out how to kill it. That's one of my things that I do. I love to do that. That's what I do. I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how to kill it. Now, if you take a glaive with size 5 guns, you can kill a stationary 600i fairly quickly, okay? Because you're hitting it, as long as you hit the same spots over and over again. But then that's not a real shooting experience. Once you take somebody who's fairly competent in the 600i, which I always say you should always do, then it becomes more interesting because they're moving things around. They potentially can move their shields around to protect themselves. The fight can go on a bit longer. You take a saber, you put repeaters on that mother, 4 Panthers, you overclock the shit out of it. You can potentially, within a fairly short space of time, take its shields down and destroy it. Now, I don't know about a hammerhead, because I have to check that with a hammerhead, but with a hammerhead, if you take 3 or 2 sabers with overclock guns, you could probably take down a hammerhead shields fairly quickly. Now, the 600i, once you take a shield down, it's so fragile, you can blow it up almost within seconds, which is great. But there are going to be ways to do stuff. At the moment, we're so far away from balancing, which I agree with Miz 100%. It's not there yet. But for me, fundamentally, I just think certain ships shouldn't be able to destroy. You should have to do team gameplay to destroy certain size ships. That's what I want from StarCitizen. I want to see a big ship.
Otherwise, I'm
on my own. I'm going to go away.
Yeah, personally, I would feel I would never want to fly a big ship if a small fighter could take me down. Yeah. Because you're not going to be able to outmaneuver. Like, this is what you're talking about. You can't outmaneuver a smaller ship, which means it's fucked you over. You can't get away from it. It's this thing that's going to keep biting at you and biting at you as you're flying along. Whereas if it needs more than one, you can call for backup. It gives you a chance to get backup. It gives them a chance to try and get more people to take you down. Or they just give up. You don't just have this annoying little fucking thing keep shooting at you until it finally wears you down. It just doesn't make sense.
If they would have a weak spot, some sort of hard to reach weak spot, that will.
I still disagree, because a smaller ship can outmaneuver it, and it's not fair. Like, if I went outside now and bare fist punched my house all day long for as long as I would not knock my house down, right? So why the fuck should a small ship do the same to a big ship? Like, it's just it's out of my power zone. And I think that should be the same with ships. As much as the films make it look really cool for a little small ship to go buzzing in, get on the inside and blow it up, I don't think that kind of gameplay, A, can happen, and B, is good. Unless you could fly in and dock and take it from the inside and take over the ship. Now, that I would say would be fun. But I think just flying under the radar and shooting it as a single ship would not... Personally, I don't think that's a good way to go. Because once you know that weak spot, everybody's going to fucking go and exploit it, and your big ships are going to be pointless.
But if it's heavily defended, then it would be harder to reach.
That's why I get nervous when CIG does things like the F8 Lightning, in all honesty. When it puts, was it 2 size 6? I can't remember what fucking size guns this, but I can't remember now what it. I'd have to dig it out, but it was scary. It's like 6 size 3s and 2 size 4s, or 2 size 5s and 6 size 3s on it, or something ridiculous. I kind of get nervous as hell when I see that stuff, because I'm just thinking, oh, okay, here we go. We're back again to single seater fighters that are just going to be ripping through. Every time they do that type of shit, make a small fighter rip through huge amounts of firepower. It's just like
you then have to rebalance everything.
Yes, it's like, oh my god, you're now going to then all of the ships that are underneath that. It means that if you're a dogfighter, for example, you're all going to have to fly the F8 Lightning, because that's going to be so freaking powerful. It's like, and then it's like, okay, then I go, okay, hold my hands up, and I go, okay, don't worry about it, Madness. It doesn't matter. We're still fucking years away. They've got tons of balancing to do. But I'm like, CIG, please try to keep your life a bit simple. just help yourself and just say, okay, we'll just kind of keep it within the realms of, but I think they get like us, they get excited and they go, let's put size 4s on it. Okay, let's put size 5s on it. I'm waiting for a size 6 single seater fighter. That's what I'm waiting for. They'll be like, at some point, I think it'll be a Vandal ship. We'll probably have a size 6, probably ridiculous 2 guns on it. Something else, one huge size 6 on a on a single seater fighter. You know what I mean? They can't help themselves, and especially if it sells, it's like, I'm waiting, that'll be the 40,000.
But again, when it's concept, it's like, well, we can take them back off again and swap it for smaller. So
they do say that. They did say that, and they said that the military version obviously will be buffed. From the Squadron 42 military version is going to be more OP than the civilian version. So in theory, the hard points of the civilians should be less, I believe. So it should be maybe less, but we'll see. But they do get a bit excited.
But anyway, Snake Eater made a good point, and a bit like my analogy of punching the house down. But like, if these capital ships are seen as end game type of ships, like if you played any other MMO or any other single player game, not so single player, any other game, you don't go and take on the boss on your own. No, with a little I got a pistol, can I go and take the boss on? You don't. You have to get a group, or you have to work your way up to taking that out. And that's the same as these big ships. These are bigger ships. They're not meant to be what you get off the bat. They need to take time for you to be able to take them down, and not as a single ship, not in an Aurora or in a Hornet. So it doesn't matter how good your single fighter is. These are something that requires more than a single fighter to take down. Just deal with it. Or pretty much. I think that's just it. I don't think it's fair.
I think we're on an agreement on that one. I think I want the escalation factor of StarCitizen in a fight scenario. You have a choice. You either stay and you escalate the fight, or you run away. If you're in that situation, it's like, actually, this is probably a bit too big for me to handle. I'm going to go away, and maybe I'll call my friends and come back with some more mates, and then we'll have a much more interesting, huge fight. Or maybe I'll stay here, try and keep him active, think he's got a chance, at the same time communicate with my mates saying, come and find me, this is where I am. And then next thing you know is you've got escalation, and the other guy on the other end goes, shit, let's go get my mates. And the next thing you know, what was just 2 ships bumping into each other turns into a massive war or something. It'd be great.
Well, that's what brings it. he said all along he wants like a more thoughtful gameplay, that's what it'll do. If you see something like, say, a big cargo hold, like the Holy is fucking massive, you imagine the shields on that thing, like, you can't take it down by just shooting it with a single fighter. So he's automatically then sees you and goes, right, you're still following me. You've called mates as the fighter. He's then called his mates, because you're sitting there going, well, this is a fucking fat payload. If we take this whole out, look at the money we can earn. And he's like, right, I need backup. They're going to get mates in it. And next thing you know, like you said, you've got a full-scale war going on because someone bumped into a heavily laden Holy, which should be cool.
Yeah.
You don't.
and we've been getting people have been saying in chat like they've been experiencing that. That's happening when CIG created the drug lab and when you have a special place where people make money. Before it was Korea, and now it's the drug lab. People go there. So when people go there, other people know that's exactly where they're going to go to get money. So you end up getting this wonderful section now where we have. I think I was reading some wonderful things from some of my org friends like HNN and synchronizers and some other fantastic orgs as well, combat orgs. I know I forget your names, do apologize, but they've all been doing that. Some of them have been holding it down, some have been policing it, some have been letting, like I think they did one which was fantastic where they let some tourists, they were stopping everybody and they did what they always do, the HNN guys, they just randomly were like, the guy was like, I just want to be a tourist, can I come in? So they let him in, and then the tourist guy thought it would be fun to self-detonate his ship next to somebody and try and kill them. So then obviously they learned from that experience, so they were like, well, fuck this, we're not letting nobody come in now. So then they completely shut it down to anyone and everyone. It was quite funny just read it. I didn't see it, I didn't experience it, but I was watching it. I know the Space Bros guys have been doing lots of hammerhead fights. There's been, like I said, for combat wise, like this is the best patch in terms of more complicated combat and all combat battles I've seen because of the performance that the Mindculling has brought on board. So it's like I said, it's StarCitizen it's really coming on in leaps and bounds. So I'm excited about next year.
More of those spots.
It needs more.
We say it every year, but next year it's gonna be the best year.
I think it's just constant now. I no longer think a year is better than another yet. We'll look back in maybe 5-10 years and we'll be able to say
the year when it comes out
that was the best year. Yeah, well, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if we'll look, but like I said, like the flight model in 2.6.3 in 2017 was the best flight model we've had in terms of for fighting and stuff. We'll see, maybe 5 years time, I might say
I need to get will be the best. A little sound effect and slow music for that. Every time you mention 2.2.6, just get everyone go quiet, play the tune.
I know. It was the best though.
Like them tear-jerker adverts you get. Are you getting old?
It was the best.
Can you no longer lift your own remote control?
Actually, we've got some interesting topics to talk about. So
we got some questions.
I've been away.
Go for them quickly.
Go for the questions first.
We'll respond to them as 4 questions, so we'll try and keep them then. It's nice to answer. So Starburger asks, do you guys think that there is going to be a last concept release this year?
Really big one.
I think if we're not going to get a holiday live stream, then probably not. That's my opinion.
They made 12. I don't know. It all depends on the money. It depends how the dollar signs in their eyes. How much money did they make last year from the?
What handbag is Sandy getting this Christmas?
Yeah, she's getting a big one at the moment.
Well, where was it stated that they don't do a presentation this year? Was that on RTV? ATV?
Someone said that Disco said it at the end of RTV, and then it was mentioned on Spectrum, and I think Disco confirmed it. And I don't know if it's, unless it's fake, because I've only seen it through third party. Like here's a picture of it, but apparently Captain Richard did it on his stream and showed it off on Spectrum, where Disco said there's no holidays live stream as far as he knows now. Sometimes COG doesn't know what the left and right hand are doing, so there could still be one. But
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would. What have they done the last few years? We've had concept sales, right? So that means that they've got used to that chunk of money in the bank, right? So there's always been the Christmas sales, and there's nothing I think adds a little bit of juice to the sale.
We just had
than a new ship.
Wow.
Yeah,
kind of two
they had that last time. I mean, the previous year they've had concept ships at the anniversary sales. Anyway, they always, that's a gimme. So I don't see why they wouldn't. I'm going to go with, I think that there will be either a flight ready ship or there will be a concept ship.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there will be. Yeah, I'm going to go with it. They just can't resist it, man. It's money, man. It's just money. You just can't resist it.
Yeah, someone's sitting there going, hang on. So that. We'll do this. We'll get a little.
We can make an extra
pipe on the back.
million, 2 million.
Put a cockpit on the front, and we'll say it's 135 meters. Okay, there you go, guys. All right, concepts. Go buy it now. It's too much fucking clear. You can't see it anyway. This is a really artful piece of.
That could be the Drake that they never showed us. Remember, like the Drake from previously I think there was 3 Drakes that were concepted, and there's still 1 left to see. So it could be that third Drake. I can't remember the name off the top of my head now because I'm still.
Possible.
It could be that one. It could be a completely brand new vehicle.
The Kraken's already been sold, so it's not that one.
What are we getting next year in terms
alien
of
ship. Yeah, hang on.
stuff?
Let me just say it's.
Salvage.
I'll say it's Banu.
Capital ship. We're still waiting on a Xi'an
Banu.
capital ship. I reckon it'll be Xi'an potentially. What do we just get? We got the is it the Santa Coya Xi'an? Yeah. What was that? I can't remember.
I found it in Dumper's Depot.
My brain has left me today. Yeah, the Corsair. That's the one.
So what do you think?
Check you out with your 3D printing.
Yes or no? Well, my Dumper's Depot. I actually got a better one. This is my first concept. If anyone wants to buy my first concept.
Oh, god. Showing off their stuff. Do you want me to bring my shoes out again?
I got my Miss bit if you want to show it. Anyway, yeah, so you think we will, I think no.
Yeah, I think so. I think we will.
And Bok thinks, oh, nice. Did it turn out all right?
Wow, yeah, it's still got...
fuck balls, that's good.
Still got stuff underneath the wheels.
Wow.
Oh, looks good.
Look at that jet black stealth version.
Whoop, whoop. Special version,
3D
Bok
print
version.
CIG. Get on it, baby.
Nice.
Look at that.
Like
How much would you reckon that would be worth, people? How much would you
I think
pay
I might have to print one of
for
those. I might have to print and paint one of those.
Did the wheels work? Does it actually roll?
No.
It comes in two versions. One as one big model like this, doesn't move, and the other one is all separate parts. And you can actually put the bearings in, and it all turns. But
the
yeah,
axles are wrong around,
to...
isn't it, on the Cyclone for it to actually work properly?
Yeah, it comes with axles, but it's different.
Okay.
It's not really like in-game. This is just like as it is in-game. But yeah, it needs a lot of work to clean it up before I can paint it.
Did you do their standard supports, or did you do the tree stuff?
This came out as a brick. You can see the pictures on my Discord.
The tree supports might make it print a bit better. I'm gonna have to look at that.
But I don't know how to do tree supports.
Okay, send me the file, and I'll have a look.
Cool.
And then I can paint it on
I
stream.
think that's pretty much almost. Show me the wheels, because I'm just going to see how fat they look like. They could be a bit. They need to be a bit chubbier. They look very skinny, those wheels. Show me the wheels. Bok.
Oh,
like
sorry.
Yeah. Show me the wheels. It's like, no, face on, not sideways. Oh no, they're good. They're chunky. They're nice. Good. Lovely. We do love a bit of girthy wheels.
Now I just want to go and print that. How many hours was that? That was a 24-hour print, wasn't it?
This was actually a 26 or 27 hour sprint.
In just one go, or did you have to glue anything together?
In one go.
Wow, well done. That looks like it was going to be one of those complicated put it together ones.
Yeah, well, I'm going to print it again, but then it will be the version with separate parts.
I would do it in white, because then we can paint it the correct colours.
We can paint it in black, just prime it. I've got a primer. I'll do that.
I'm gonna paint it like in the original colors, or at least I'm gonna try. But especially yes,
red.
It will be. It will be having orange on it a bit. Yeah.
That looks.
We'll have to do like a paint along, and we can stream painting it.
Yeah. Why not?
Do a couple of those.
New paints arrive tomorrow.
Sold me. I am literally like looking at 3D. I was looking at 3D printers the other day. I was like, okay, because like every year I take out a small loan and I either upgrade my computer or I buy some bits and bobs. So for me, I was like, I'm looking at a 3D printer.
I really want a resin one, but not yet. I'll have to do the filament for now.
I was like, this is good. Looks like it'll be a lot of fun. Okay, next question, Miz.
Deku, the Destroyer of Worlds, asks, while you are not devs or CIG employees, how dare you? How dare you, sir?
Hey, Miz is pretty much a CIG employee these days.
Shh. NDA.
Barely talk. He can barely talk about anything.
How many years would you expect the Endeavour to take before it's flight ready? 2020, 2021, 2042?
The Endeavour. Shit, man. Like,
well, they said definitely not 2019, didn't they? I think.
Yeah, and it all depends on when's the Endeavor's kind of farming, isn't it? And that was like, if I went back to the original roadmap, I think farming was supposed to be like the next the next patch after 3.5. I think it was 3.4. I think it was 3.5 was supposed to have farming in it, I believe. If I remember correctly. And then it was 4.0 was going to have jump gates. So um okay, shit. 2021 would be my guess. I think it's at
2050.
least I think it's at least 2 more years away for that size ship. Maybe if it's not out next year, it could be 2020 or 2021 would be my
I would
guess.
say if they said it's not going to be next year, didn't they? So I'd say 2020 because it's MISC. They've got a lot of the assets kind of done. The pod part's not. Possibly 2020.
It was interesting how they do the Endeavor. I was noticing. I can understand why people get a little bit upset, like the way that their modularity and how you have to buy it, and then you have to drop another $500 just to get the parts or something on it, and then you have to fill up a hangar with all the parts in order to use it. I was like, the Endeavor looks like just an absolute money sink in terms of a ship. Do you know what I mean? I don't know about anyone else, but it just looks like a massive money sink for me. I was a bit nervous about that one. I was certainly not going to put any money into it.
It's going to take a lot to run it, I think.
Oh,
and
yes,
equip it.
with those domes. Yeah. I don't know how big those
the
domes
electric bill
are.
alone is just going to be so expensive. just think of how long it's going to take to heat one of those domes up. It's so impractical.
That's proper luxury. Proper luxury, right?
You think your 990 jumps luxury? Try heating one of these fuckers all day long. Okay, so the next question from Noromus, something like that. Sorry for butchering the name. Do any of you own the Retaliator, and do you feel it needs a little work, i.e. MFDs not functional, falling out of atmo, and higher crew cost, pilot has no guns, etc.?
Okay, the Tally is a really interesting ship because if they buff, like I was watching, I think HC Vertigo did a fantastic video link, which I watched it, which talking about turrets that somebody had talked about. And he basically sums up this pretty well. If they get turrets working really, really well, the Tally, in theory, could actually end up being better than a Hammerhead because it's got quite a lot of turrets and it's got size 9 torpedoes on board, and it's pretty powerful, and it's small, and it's maneuverable. If you bump the shields up on that thing, that's a really powerful ship. Now, to answer the question on the MFDs and stuff, I think that almost every ship needs to get their MFDs sorted out, because I don't know about anybody else, but when I zoom in to try and look at anything, it goes blurry as hell. Has anyone else had that? Is that a bug, or is that just the fact that my character needs contact lenses? Because
it's not blurry for me.
Much,
no.
Really? Maybe it's depth of field is on. Maybe if you switched off depth of field, because for me, I
always switch that
when
on.
I zoom in. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe my depth of field is still switched on. But it goes like when you zoom in, you're supposed to, like, you thought it would be focused on the MFDs. Not all of that stuff I still think needs work. The Tally internally, I think, needs to have a look at again. I think that's one of those ships that they could do a tweak. Like, they talked about some get reworked and some get improved. I think the Tally needs to be improved internally. I think there's a bit of wasted space there they could improve. I hate the ship because it's a torpedo ship. So I absolutely loathe that ship. But it's a fun ship to have.
Yeah, I think as Henry says though, I think most ships need work. They're all going to go back and take a few passes to make sure the MFDs are working, and especially the Gladius, where they're going to ruin any ship that Manus does decide to settle on. They're going to move their MFDs so that it blocks his view and pisses him off again. It hasn't happened for a while yet. So,
and we need hotkeys for the MFDs. Come on.
Yeah.
Don't want to manually zoom to that particular MFD.
Yeah, they do need to. I agree completely, Buck. They need to work on all of that stuff.
All the hotkeys, though. I'm going to have to. I'm not even going to have screens. APIs. I'm just going to have keyboards of fucking hotkeys.
Yeah. Or voice attack.
Yeah.
Try it sometimes.
Didn't Toby do like a wonderful? Was it a Stream Deck thing or something? He did a wonderful one where he does the MFD.
on Android.
On Android, that was
Yeah, yeah.
which was tremendous. Like I was like, again, that's what I was like. Somebody was talking about it. The more APIs that the potentially CIG does to component parts and things, and it creates obviously a nightmare for players because you have to remember where all the shit is. So if you can obviously attach them to tablets and to Stream Decks and to other things, or physical things, so you can flick switches and stuff. I'm all for that. I think it creates more immersion in the game. So. But yeah, to answer the question, 100%, dude, it all needs reworked. It all needs reworked. Sorry, it just needs.
And it will.
And it will. I'm
And the last question we got at the moment from Deku, Destroyer of Worlds and Small Fish. Since the announcement of the Santok, whatever,
yes.
do you think the
Santok,
Cartual will ever become more than a hangar flare? So, I mean, it's a good question. I think they have addressed that slightly with the new flight mechanics. It may change because of the way things will handle, at least in atmosphere. Whether that will change it in space.
Which ship are we talking about? Sorry, the beginning bit. Which ship's going to be
Cartual.
The
the spiky 5-spike thing.
It depends on a few things. If they change the hard points slightly and give it 4 hard points rather than 2 hard points, or they buff the 2 hard points to be, say, 2 size 5s or something like that, then it changes everything again. But they won't do that. I agree with what Mrs. said about the flight model. Now, the flight model, obviously, we know that in order to do strafing at the moment, they referred to the Saber's always been a strafing ship. Okay, you've been able to strafe heavily and kite ships in the Saber. Super maneuverable. It's been fantastic. Now they refer to, when you look at the technical brochure, when they talked about the Santa Coya, they refer to now the Saber as a boom and zoom ship. Now the boom and zoom ship previously was the 300 series, because it's like the racing model in the 350R or whatever. You boom and zoomed in that. The Saber was the strafe ship. The Hornet was the tank. Now they refer to the Hornet still as the tank ship, and now the Saber has become the boom and zoom ship. Well, I was like, well, what does that make the 300? Is that the sniping ship now with the big size 4s? Anyway, so that's what I was thinking. The 300 is now becoming sniping ship. That means, in theory, the Santa Coya, all that series of alien ships with the big thrusters on the sides, now become the strafing ships. And what made it really interesting was they talked about, briefly, and I'm just going to try and get my notes on this one. They talked about it on the RTV. They talked about the ships now being able to separate their the vertical state independently. Now, this makes these ships really interesting, especially anything that can change its angle and stuff. Really fascinating. Because for one of the big things for me is the Santa Coya, because at the moment, I'm just giving you a visual representation. Okay, so the Saber flies. Everyone knows anywhere you fly a Saber, you fly it kind of pretty much on the horizontal. You keep your profile very, very skinny, so it's hard to hit. The minute you turn a Saber up in the air like this, it becomes a huge fat target. The Santa Coya flies like this, so it's a big shooting target. Big, you're going to be able to take off. It's pretty weak compared to a Saber in terms of what they talked about. So you don't want to have a big hitbox. But if you can turn the landing gear and turn the profile of the Santa Coya and turn all those 4 engines into like a Saber, you are literally turning a Santa Coya could potentially, in my head, if it works like that and they can change its profile, becomes a Saber again and becomes an incredibly scary ship to fly. Very exciting. Certainly worth having the CCU if you've bought one, because we don't know yet. But in terms of the Cartharol, yes, that's still garbage because it's too weak. But the bigger its bigger brother is certainly really interesting.
I mean, they may buff it like everything else. It's like when they do a pass, going through it all. Yeah. Does this fulfill its role? That sort of thing.
Yeah. So I keep annoying shenanigans. I'm dyslexic, tough shit. I'm saying Santa Coya. You can call it whatever you want.
Santa Coya.
So you can say however you want. I'm calling it the Santa Coya because I can remember that. I can't remember Santa Kai. It just doesn't work. I can remember the other one.
Santa Kai.
You just did
it.
Santa Kai, the Santa Kai. This is weird. Santa Coya sounds so much better. That's what
Santa. It's just because he's got Santa Claus on his head. That's all he keeps thinking of. Santa
it's
Claus.
Called Santa chips. It's whatever I want to call it.
Spicy enchiladas.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's
acid, tomato. Anyway,
that's all the questions we got so far. So
okay.
If you want to go back to what we wanted to discuss.
Well, that was one of the things I was going to talk about, the ability. Like now, if they one of the things I was going to say, actually, we touched on it there, which is really interesting, is the fact that in the reverse the verse, which I thought was really interesting, is that the ability to be able to change the state of the ships, and some of the ships, like the Reliant, for example,
it's going to make a huge difference on the Reliant. You might not necessarily want to fly it. Like, what it means is you'll choose what flight way you want it to be depending on the maneuverability you're after. So if you are actually wanting to weave and stuff, then you probably want the Reliant on its vertical axis. But if you just want to fly around normally and get in and out your seat, you can have it horizontal, and it should fly, I imagine, reasonably well anyway that way. I mean, it's engines thrust up. Yeah, I'm doing that. Okay, deal with it. It's engines spin around on balls anyway, so I don't really see what difference it makes on a vertical or horizontal on that one. I realised after I was doing it, I was like,
it just that's okay. Yeah, it's all good. We're yeah.
We all like the Reliant here.
Does.
Here's another question for you guys. This is actually for chat as well, and generally. Now, this is related to leaks. And Miz knows a little bit of this, obviously, because obviously he's Eva Carty, right? And this was something I was reading up on, again on Reddit, and they said the leaks on the subreddit are not posted by Eva Carty who record them. 90% of the time, it's somebody has recorded something and has posted it out as a problem, and there's a lurker or someone else who is taking that information from the issue council and then posting it through a medium on the internet, whatever. Effectively, they are stolen videos from other people. Now, here's a question. Is CIG aware of when something is stolen and when something is not stolen? How can they know the difference, potentially, other than somebody just telling them honestly, versus has anyone actually been banned potentially or kicked out of Eva Carty or any other thing else for leaking when they didn't do it? Somebody actually just ripped. Can they tell only because it's been posted as one of their? Oh, whatever.
How can you prove it?
I think I already know this. I guess they can always say, well, it was posted originally as a. Here's the other thing. Could you get out? Just because my brain's going over the place on this one. You could potentially get out of saying that you were banned because you could say, I posted this as a issue, and then you get your mate to leak it onto the webpage. Does that make sense? Like on Motion. So you say to your mate, okay, I'm going to post it as an issue, and then you just.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost no different to just an Eva. If an Eva Carty wants to do that and leak, then there's no difference for them just leaking it anyway through however way they want to do it. Yeah, but people know ways of getting away from the watermark and stuff. So if they want to leak it, they'll do that. Yeah, I mean, the CIG are aware at least of the fact that this is how the leaks can happen. But the problem is they addressed a while back that they did have originally an Eva Carty only issue council, but the problem with that was as soon as it came out of Eva Carty, they for some reason couldn't open up that issue council, which meant all the bugs that Eva Carty reported remained hidden, and then everybody went back and re-reported all the same bugs over and over again, and so they were having duplicates of everything, and they said it got impossible. So this is why we have it the way it is, because it's too much work for them. In terms of how they can prove that you're not leaking it, I suppose they can't. You would have to have an issue council post, and then maybe that would be your defense. And as long as you've got an issue council post, then you can say, look, I posted it here, someone's got hold of it, and maybe they won't do anything. Maybe it's just people that say, oh, I've posted it, and then they haven't actually got a post. Which
I've already showed that you could potentially easily you could easily break that by just saying posted it, and then literally a couple of hours later,
as long as you've posted it
and say,
but as long as you've posted it on the issue council, they might not kick you, because it's like you've posted it. Of course you can exploit it, but that's what I'm saying, anyone that wants to exploit a leak anyway is going to do it regardless. However they get around
to put his YouTube on public or private or unlisted.
Yeah, that's true too.
I don't think they need to stick with Eva Carty. What I think they should do is probably just not bother with the NDA. They keep the Eva Carty because they're the ones testing it, they're the ones submitting the bugs. Why does it need to be hidden? There is a reason for Eva Carty, and the reason being is that they need focused testing, and they don't want repeated, wasteful bug reports. There is a definite need for Eva Carty. What there isn't a need for is keeping it under NDA. There's just no point. And they're doing it just because they don't want the world to see that the game's buggy. Guess what? It's fucking alpha. We know it's buggy. Look at PC Gamer. We talked about it earlier at the start of the podcast. They review the game how the fuck they want to review it, regardless of how you want to fucking dress it up. And then generally these patches are getting rushed out towards the end anyway, and they're buggy, and they get reported on the buggy state anyway. So having it NDA is absolutely pointless. It just hinders everybody because, like I said a couple of podcasts ago, 1 week I could talk about everything because I'm Evocati, so I could talk about it because it wasn't released on PTU, but we've heard everything. Like, we'd seen it all on the ATVs, we'd seen it all on the servers. Then the next week, Evocati got the patch. I then could no longer talk about it because I'm under NDA. It made zero sense. We all knew that it's like 3.4. We all know what's in 3.4. We've all seen videos of the freelancer variants, the reliant variants, whatever, but can't talk about it because it's now on fucking PTU. It makes no sense.
It's they need to read. Honestly, I said this to you, and I've said this before. Is they need to re-look at this whole NDA thing for Evocati, because if they are literally showing us everything beforehand in ATVs and all the rest of it, it's just lunacy. Exactly what you just said. That just makes no sense. It's like it's like, where the fuck is the common sense?
They can still say no streaming ASNOC. It doesn't have to be a blanket NDA or no NDA. They can still put rules and caveats on it. Just it doesn't need. It just says they could still say no content, no streaming, but you're free to talk about it. It's, exactly. I agree. I think actually most streamers, most people who are Evocati, and a lot of the guys that I've spoken to, like all the other shows that we know about, all the other podcasts, I think we're all kind of in agreement on this one. It just seems to be CIG is the only one that's just like, well, that requires us to have to do a load of work. It's like that's just too much like hard work, really. But it's more work them trying to protect the NDA on it than it is to just let people do what they want to do.
But maybe, but then they have to hire somebody. They've got to go through all the paperwork. They've got to figure it all out. It's like, well, do we really need to? Or we just keep it as it is. I get that. I get that sense, that feeling of like we just can't be bothered, or you know what I mean? It's not that broken, so we'll just keep it as it is. It's fine, and it creates a little bit of excitement.
I mean, the Evocati patch notes are literally out before I've even read them on the Evocati panel. Most people know about it.
I know. It is. I know. I agree. It's ridiculous, and it does need to be.
New ones are just released, by the way.
Well, I've seen it. I mean, I've got the Freelancer Dur. I had a look at the 600i touring walk around.
There's one thing in it that's the best thing ever. I'm not gonna tell it here, but
what?
Nope.
What?
You're not
what something in the patch notes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Go for it.
It's a very tiny feature, but
come on, tell us.
So much salt.
Spoiler alert! Everyone is going to say, "Come on, let's hear it. Let's hear it."
No, it's just they put the air traffic controller name on top of the list instead of all the way down.
Woo!
Yes,
finally!
I can neither confirm nor deny that they have done this.
Finally, how long did that take?
Too long.
Damn, well done, CIG.
I can neither confirm or deny.
And now my HUD colors.
It's where it's broken and doesn't work. You can't get you press it's completely broken it from working. But
you just can't talk to him. He's on top of the list, but you can't talk
to anyone. Take my
I shouldn't say that in case that's actually the case.
Exactly.
Dear.
What was I going to say? What I was going to say? Another question. There's some good things on things. We'll talk about that another time. It's fine. Question for you guys, which was, which server do you guys think is the typically most active?
I always join on the best. I really can't tell.
If you had to guess, do you think Europe is more active? America? Australia?
Well, America's got more players, isn't it? So
I don't know. I'm just curious.
It's always America.
There's a lot of Europeans.
I think I'm basically always connected to European due to all the German language I see, or the German names.
Yeah. So if CIG, if somebody in CIG knows, please, or someone knows for sure, for 100% fact, please, I'd be fascinated to know which servers are the most active, Americans or Europe's.
I'll tell you one that's probably not. Yeah, it's Australia.
Yeah, it's not the Aussies ones. No. I don't believe you. If you say Aussies ones, I'll be like, show me the proof. I don't believe you. Next question for you guys is okay, just because we got about 5 minutes or more. Exclamation in this exploration in this game is going to be heavily scanned based. Okay, so I know a lot of people talk about the cockpits and the view. So one of the somebody said in Reddit, which I thought was interesting, they said, "Why do you need to have a good view when you're going to be doing a lot of stuff, computer scanning and all the rest of it?" Now, my response to them was I could give you $400 reasons why, but you know, like, because, you know, who doesn't want to have a nice view? But because you look at the Carrack, I think this is in relation to the Carrack, obviously, because the Carrack's got lots of struts and things like that.
Struts, baby, struts. Oh, yeah, struts, baby.
But I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that, you know, all ships should have good views, especially if they're going to be scanning based?
Right, the thing is, it's getting ridiculous now because I was driving in my car the other day and I just looked at I was just looking, obviously, doing out the window, and I was thinking, my car's got a good fucking view. Like, it's just a car. It's got a good view. Why would I... Where are all my struts on my car? Like, I've got one... And the reason I thought about it, actually, is because I've got the strut on each... Obviously, on each side.
Yeah.
And the one on the Ford Focus, the way it's aligned, there's one bend as I go back to my house that I can't see round the bend because it literally blocks the view every time. And people park right in the corner, so it pisses me off. And so I was like going around the corner and this strut was in my face. And I was like, the fuck? No one likes struts. Why are they on ships just to give it fucking character? And like, but other than that one on either side, the rest of my windscreen and my view is unhindered. Like, I can see all around me. I miss like having a sunroof, to be fair, because I quite like looking up and see. Like, no, why haven't they just all need good views? Put the character in the MFDs and stuff. Does it need to be struts to give it characters?
Okay. Post a good answer there, though. Your car doesn't go 225 miles an hour, Ms.
But then it's also not flying in space with nothing in the fucking way.
I think an aeroplane has like fairly good windows as well, though, to be fair. Do you know what I mean? It's fair. They're fairly clear from what I can tell. I mean, somebody please.
But my car is also not 20 years and 2,000 years in there.
They're very clear, but also very high. So just like the Freelancer, it's quite a small view you have. You have to reach a little bit up to look over the nose, so to speak.
But I'm not 1,000 years in the future, though, so my car may well be going 200 and odd miles an hour when I'm in the future.
Just for Prisoner, we're actually looking at it's slightly. Miz is kind of going on about the view thing, like everyone goes on about it, but the conversation is more around if your ship is a heavily scanning based ship, like the whole data runners and information runners and all this kind of stuff. You know, why do you even care if you have a good view potentially within the ship, like a Carrack, whatever? Do you really need to have that, or struts? Okay.
Well, because
I would say
does your ship just automatically get there?
No, I understand. Like, I knew it's the obvious answer. I'm playing devil's advocate. Okay, I personally, you know what I'm like. I'm always about the view of the ship. Okay, you know what I like. The Gladius. If you put fucking, they fucked up the view on that, and I got very salty, and the scratched glass is everywhere. It does my head in. So my personal view is very simple. I'm with you. I think it should be very clean glass cockpits, and I'm with you 100% on that. I'm a big fan of that. Minimal struts, but some people just maybe I thought was an interesting comment.
Minimal struts, lots of scratches.
Ships. Do you necessarily need, if that's the type of ship that's based on? I mean, I'm still a fan of. I'd love the idea of a ship without a cockpit at all, completely without a cockpit, and it's all kind of like there's some movies, sci-fi movies, where the ships are all it's all digital, and the person it's all cameras on the outside of the ship, and you can kind of see everything.
Well, even the modern day Apache helicopter can do that. But they fly in the sack with an eye.
But the thing with that digital thing that you're on about, though, is that those digital screens then become just giant windows. Like, they're screens rather than windows, but they do exactly that. They perform the job of the window. They're just massive. And then, like, if you think about what you're talking about, they just become massive screens. Like Star Trek, I suppose, is the biggest one. The Enterprise is just a big screen, right? But once that screen and they want the view outside, it becomes the view outside. Now, the advantage of that is you don't get fucking scratches on it. So why don't we all let's fuck the cockpits, get rid of them, make them, if that's you're on about getting damaged, and let's get rid of cockpits. Let's just have nice digital screens that look outside.
The only issue you get with that though is when a fly lands on the lens, and then
Oh
it looks like there's a
yeah,
huge alien. There's a huge alien just about to be like on the outside of the
It's just a little window
spaceship.
wiper.
We're being attacked.
Look at the size of that alien. No, it's just a fly.
Yeah. Oh.
The Vandal have got a new
Red
ship.
Dawn episode. It sneezed on the sensor. Accidentally sneezed on it. It's like, we're being attacked by a raiding party of 20 people. No, I just sneezed on it. Hang on, we just wiped off the MFD. Someone forgot to clean it properly. Yeah, I love all that. Right. And then I think the big one still. And this is the big one, and I know we're a little bit running over, so we'll see if we can wrap this up in 5 minutes. If what everyone's been talking about forever is the game time consuming. Now, this is what I'm like. Well, I don't. All games are time consuming, so that was. Like
I hope so.
That one.
I've just lost 3 years of my life, so yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But I think a lot of people were talking about obviously the time on the commuter. People call it commuter citizen, or taking off, trying to exit orbit citizen, or there's all this kind of talk about because it's new and obviously this is all new to the game. And I think it's good we have these debates and conversations because at the end of the day, it helps CIG formulate how they're going to make things last in time. And this jumping from Hurston being 10 minutes and all this stuff. So how do most people feel about that game experience at the moment? Is most people pretty comfortable with that kind of game experience we're getting at the moment, or do you feel they should reduce time, they should speed it all up a little bit, or they should slow it down even more?
I think you should have a choice. We've got minimal choices right now, but I'm got sick and tired of taking the train out of Lorville, etc., etc. So I went back to Port Olisar. Now, in the future, we will have more planets, locations where to rest and to get our ships, and one will be closer than the other, and just make a choice where you want to lift off. So I'm definitely down with different travel times. One can be half an hour, one can be 5 minutes or 2 minutes, whatever. But just put more in it. Yeah.
I think it's a difficult one to judge at the moment. It's almost like you have to answer it differently because like the feedback that CIG are getting at the moment isn't really not relevant, but good for the overall thing because not everything's in. So the things that you were doing those downtimes you don't have. So it was like the expo, right? So because something was on, we all wanted to get to the expo. You had to get on. Even just getting out of your bed became painful because they went because Port Olisar used to be slow, and then we all complained about it. Then they sped it up.
Oh, but now we got Lorville,
and then you got Lorville, and they start doing. I don't want to fucking stretch every time I get out of bed. I just want to get out of the fucking bed.
Exactly.
But because you've got a pinpoint thing that you're trying to go and do, you're focused, and you 100% want to go to that expo as quick as possible because you want to see the new ships. And so at that time, the travel time was shit. I didn't like it. Once the game's fleshed out and you're doing other things, maybe there's something that what they're trying to say is there might be something else that you do on the way to the terminal, on the way to here, then it may change because you may have other stuff to do at that time. So it's hard to judge.
Give us teleporters.
It's the thing is, I think as much as people love to say they want it to be slowed down and that, I do think that, and I'm one that I hate the teleporting in, say, Elder Scrolls Online, but also at the same time, if you want to get to do something, the whole travelling for ages is also a pain in the arse. So it's a really difficult one to balance when even a personal opinion on it can waver on a game session to game session. There could be one game session where because like we've tried stuff, haven't we, with Madness, where we tried to go, right, we want to get 2 dragonflies in a ship, go on to this planet and fly. And it took us your whole stream time to go and do that because of bugs and crashes and things that didn't work. Yeah. And you just think, well, do you know what? I would rather just woken up at the outpost, got our 2 dragonflies out and gone and flown around the planet with it. And so when you've got a goal in mind, you want to get there quicker. When you just want to log on and chill or find out where the mood takes you, you might be more relevant to walk around to the bar, see if a mission giver turns up, see if someone has a job for you, shoot some pool, swim in the swimming pool in your 890 jump. You might want to do something more chilled. So I think it's a very difficult one that's going to be going to be hard to balance, in my opinion.
I think something that I really, because you just talked about the Dragonfly thing. One of the big things that I really would like CIG to get fixed for next season is the ability to spawn our vehicles inside our ships.
Oh yeah,
That for me, I would like to be able to spawn my Cutlass and spawn my Drake inside my Cutlass and then take off and then go and do stuff. I don't want to have to always fly down to the bloody planet to spawn my Dragonfly and then load it up into the back of, I don't see why I can't spawn the ship. They showed us this on ATV before. I'm guessing the technology or whatever it is isn't quite working yet, but in my head that would be something really nice to have in next year. I think we'll speed up a few gameplay scenarios, especially for racing as well. If they want to make racing a thing, to be able to spawn your racing ship inside your big ship or whatever it is to go and do stuff. That would be fun, especially for the Daymar Rally as well. How great would that be to be able to see everybody coming in their big ships with all their racing vehicles in the back of their ships ready to go really quickly. So I'd like that. I agree with you, Miz. I think for me, the biggest problem they have, the way I look at it is this way. CIG it leads to people buying more accounts. Okay, if you make it so that the universe is really big and really hard to get places, and potentially you might say, okay, this area of space potentially is going to be my mining area of space. So I'm going to have an NPC. I'm going to buy a whole new account, and this is going to be my mining space, and he's going to play in this part of the solar system, and then this other person is going to have another account. He's going to be in this system, and then another person is going to be this account in this system. I fucking hate that. Okay, I don't want to do that. I think that's incredibly naughty if they're doing that. I don't want that to be the case. They may do that in terms of with your account. I think anyway we're going to have 3 characters, right? I think that's the thing that potentially might be the case. We'll have 3 different characters for each account, so potentially they'll just exponent that as well. So you maybe have one of your characters in one system, another one's in another system, another one, and then you still have to, because the game's so bloody big, have to have another account and do the same thing again. I've always advocated this is because people want to join up with their mates and do stuff. I've always said this, and I'll say it again and until I'm blue in the face on this one. You can have a bit of both. If they do wormholes in the game and they make it so the wormholes randomly change around, people have to data collect the wormhole information, and then just like the Versemate is done by Texas Skulls, there is a web page or web browser that comes active every day, and this information is then put onto this web page that says where these wormholes are, and they will potentially jump you to different systems. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to get to the fight instantly unless it just happens to be random, but what it does mean is that you can jump huge distances quickly to be able to get to your mates within maybe 10 minutes rather than getting to your mate within 4 hours. Do you know what I mean?
I think
that's and makes gameplay loops for data people. It speeds it up a little bit, and it's not like a permanent always going to the same place. They move around and people have to find them and do something. I like the idea of that, and it gives you both. It gives you long gameplay and it gives you a bit of speeds it up a little bit.
And I think some people are also forgetting about jump gates, because I saw someone say, I don't want to travel for 24 hours to get from the jump gates will be your way to get across the star system, and it won't be hours and hours and hours. It's like, say your jump to Hurston takes 10 minutes, it may well be the same, but you have to fly through jump gates. And then you can choose not to use jump gates and do a longer route as well. So it'll be like a balance between jump points and things like that. So
yeah, exactly. So it all depends how big the game scales. We just still don't have really. We're only touching on the scale, right, of the game. We're only just touching on it, and we're seeing how big it is. And we're talking about jumping within the same solar system being 10 minutes. So can you imagine once we start to get, like, say, the jump gates, the bigger size, because they've got 3. I think it's 3 gate sizes, right? They've got small, medium, and large.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting to see as well how quickly these gates go between systems. For example, if you have a large gate, does that mean, based on what they were showing us before, obviously bigger engines, in theory, the large gate's going to get you to go much further. So if you have a large ship, you could potentially get to the other side of the system far quicker than if you have a smaller ship. So again, you're limited as a new player to one part of the system, which is fine. Again, it makes sense. You grow within the system, and then, like anyone, then you get more money, then you get a bigger ship, and you can go further away.
I think it's actually meant to be more like the small ships can go further, more places, because they can go in all of them. Sorry, I mean jump Are they jump points, not gates? Jump gates is the game I used to play, and they're called jump gates. I think they're wormholes or jump points or something. And it's the same thing.
It's all
it
the
takes
same.
you from A to
Yeah.
B,
You
but
get it.
yeah.
it's not an actual physical gate in game. I think it is meant to be like a wormhole type thing. I don't know. They haven't actually talked about it for ages, so we don't know what it's going to be. It would be cool. I think they should make them into gates like Jumpgate did. It would be
Stargates, circular things, or some sort of. Hey, I think I watched the Predator. I watched the Predator movie, the new one. It was a bag of shit, but what was really cool was the introduction to when the Predator ships come in and they like a tear in space and then they go through. I was like, that was like, damn, that's fucking cool. I was like, please CIG put that in the game, please.
You never know. The Vast might have the Vandal trouble.
I know. I was like, that's so cool. It's like, that is really cool. Like, yeah, if that's how the Vandal travel, that's terrifying. And like a create a tear in space and suddenly appear right on your doorstep. I was like, wicked. Sorry. Anyway, carry on.
No, I think that's all right. We've got a couple more questions, so we'll go through those and then we'll probably wrap it up.
Nice.
So Yellow asks, do you guys want to see roads in the big cities as an option to get around in them?
Yes.
I mean, I hope that the no-fly zone is a temporary thing, or for certain things. I do hope that we can get our bikes and drive down the roads and stuff. I don't know if we will, though.
God, yeah. Give me an Akira. I would love to have an Akira kind of
a push bike
type of bike, and then maybe not a push. But hey, I don't mind a push bike if it's there in the game, but I'm not going to be doing much on the push bike, that's for sure.
If everyone's got all these cockpits, you could have a fitness machine linked to your push bike.
To be fair though, some of the funnest times I had in GTA was on the bikes, like the pedal bikes, like trying to you could be in a situation in the middle of nowhere and there's like a pedal bike stuck there and you're just like off-roading on the pedal bike and you just like do some jumps and crazy things. So I'm not going to rule it out. I think a pedal bike would be fun. I think honestly any form of I'm down for all types of motor transport, but roads definitely, and definitely bikes and all sorts of stuff.
Even if what they could do is restrict the speed, maybe like, so if you take your Dragonfly but it can't go full speed, if you're on the roads it's restricted to a slower speed so that it prevents.
What's the fun in that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking. No, I'm thinking in terms of what they would look to restrict, because it's like stopping you crashing and shit. You know, like I would love it to just be full out travel how the fuck you like, but there's always that issue of crashing into buildings and AI and people, and then do you do GTA style where you can run everybody over,
really?
Or do you do it where you have to? No, I've never run anybody. I've always followed the line.
GTA style.
Yeah, jump off cliffs.
Do a GTA style, man. Just let people do what they want to do. Like GTA has proven that you can do it, and then just give them stars for crimes. If the more people you murder, the more stars you get, the more likely you get killed. Do you know what I mean?
Just everybody's fucking people ramped up on my Dragonfly front.
Yeah. just a glaive. Just bring down a blade or a glaive.
Oh, get the blade and just cut everybody in half as you go through a street.
That would be so good. I'm literally like, if like they kind of set that, and in my opinion, I think anything but that would feel too on rails for this type of game.
But that's the problem. That's the problem.
It would feel too on rails now.
Because I feel like that is one of the things in Lawville. You're looking out and you feel like, well, I want to be able to go there. Like, I know it's not built yet, and that's why, but you kind of see it and I want to walk it, I want to fly it, and you can't.
Yeah, you want that that Blade Runner feel.
Yeah.
Walking through the streets, riding through the streets.
On your Segway.
Yeah. On your Segway.
Segway, hoverboard, freaking, I don't know, whatever they put in, man. Like, I'd love to have, like, your Blade Runner-esque type of, vehicles and, like, what we've got already. I mean, the more of that stuff, the better, It's,
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine they won't let us do something like that eventually, because it defeats the point of them making these wonderful planets that you can land anywhere and do anything, and then under the same breath have a city where you can't actually go anywhere because we want to organise the traffic on the road. It seems a little bit odd.
It
wouldn't feel right at all.
Yeah, I agree. Like I said, like Grand Theft Auto has proven that you can be in a city and you can drive it through and crash into things and do things, and yet the NPCs somehow manage to still be able to keep things running and ticking along.
Little grey cats. We have little midget ones.
So, yeah, definitely
Okay.
roads, dude, roads.
Lard's question is Alcazar, and he asks, do you guys think the Redeemer will ever get any use now? All ships that fulfill the same role are superior in every way. And do you think CIG is regretting doing the ship design contest back then?
I don't think they're regretting it.
I think they regret it.
Nobody's happy with it at the moment.
I think they. I don't think it was a bad idea to do what they did. I thought it was a good idea. I think a ship contest makes sense if you were thinking about the period of time and, ship, engaging with the community and all the rest of it. I think they should have. The regret might be that they didn't make a little clause to say that this won't be potentially the final design. This is the concept that's won, and we will be. I don't know. I wasn't there at the time. Did they say this was exactly the ship that's going to be in the game, or did they say like vaguely, like they always say? Because it's the one thing I don't know much about is in terms of their final wording on this. It was like, this is the final one that's going to be game, or this is always going to be a concept potentially.
No, they
just
wanted,
like Asnok said.
That ship was meant to be in the game, but they've just basically repurposed it. Instead of a drop ship, it's going to be a gunship, basically.
Okay.
And they said
it's no longer Aegis either. It's no longer Aegis.
Well, they're not confirmed, but to be honest, it'd be very unlikely for it to stay Aegis. But to be honest, it was never. Okay, maybe it was promised as that ship because it was so long ago. But it doesn't matter as long as they said it's going to go in game. Put it in game. The manufacturer's pretty irrelevant unless you're someone that only wants to own certain ships. But really, the manufacturer's a bit irrelevant. As long as it's got to follow the concept idea. That's what you got to put in, I suppose.
I don't know why they don't just refund everybody their money and just close the book on it. Or give them another ship.
Who? Oh, everyone that's bought the Redeemer, yeah.
Everyone's bought a Redeemer. They just say, okay, now have a Valkyrie.
Because it's not. To be honest, they could do that, but it's not that. It's the actual competition. Some people won that competition, and their ship is meant to be in game.
Yeah,
and you're not going to put that in game.
That means a lot to those people.
Depends how they want to put it in game. I mean, they could do what you said. They could make it
put it in game and
make
it shit.
Ship, so make it an NPC ship that no one can actually fly.
Like
I said,
an empty hull.
I don't know why.
But then they might as well put it in and make it shit, and then only those that want it can fly it. I mean, anyone could buy it, but if it's that shit, no one's going to have it. It doesn't. Still put it in game, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's just me. I would just take it on the chin. Just say, here you go, everyone. Here's a Valkyrie. This is what the Redeemer was, and then you just bin off and never talk about it again. Just be like, it never happened.
No, I'm not disagreeing if that's probably the better idea, but it won't do it because it's like anyone. Like look at people now that are already arguing about the original stretch goals. Oh, you promised this was going to be in the game. Mm-hmm. Like I said to you, if it doesn't work in the game, then surely they reserve the right to say, look, I know we promised this was on the stretch goal. However, our game has changed a fucking lot since we promised those stretch goals. This object will no longer work in the game. We can't physically put it in. Like, you've got to give them some flexibility, I suppose. Or do they put everything in that they promised, regardless of whether it fucking works or not? I mean, that's the difficulty for them as a developer as well. You promised the promised goals, but that was way before they knew.
They always have it. Chris has always said, I'm building, he always said like there's a big but underlining thing was always from the very beginning. If you ever watched I'm building the game that I want to build, Chris, we're building it, my game effectively. And it's like, you're giving me money to build my game. He's always said that, it's always been pretty clear in my head. I can grumble and complain. And that's all we do. And I say,
I totally agree.
It's a bad decision. But
I feel like he should be able to turn around and say, look, this was my stretch goal. It can't go in the game. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. And that's just the way it is. The competition one is a bit different because I don't know how that goes with competition rules. You promise something as an actual physical thing. I don't know, but
they could do also like what did they actually say? Did they say that the ship would be in game and you could fly it and use it? Could it be a picture in the fucking game on a window and a wall?
It's a concept that didn't work. It could go in lore as a ship that was made by a company that totally fucked up and it crashed and it didn't work and it's like they went bust before they actually made them.
I mean, like you said, they could. I mean, what would you rather? Honestly, in all honesty, what would you rather have if you bought? Anyone here has bought a Redeemer? What would you rather have? Would you rather have a pile of ship that no one cares about at CIG and they haven't really done it, or would you rather have like a ship that they've spent a lot of love on and they know they've spent the time on it? Because I get the feeling that this ship, in all honesty, it seems like they don't care about it. Maybe they do care about it. Maybe they're moving it obviously to a gunship. That's the right move, and it'll get a lot more love. I don't know for sure, but in my head, based on what people talk about it and the way you talk about it, they regret it and all the rest of it, it feels like I would be, if I had that ship, I would be melting that sucker like right now for the money to put it into something else, because I'd just be like, this is a pointless ship to me. And I get the competition. I think it was great. The guys, I think they all got hired, or most of them got hired anyway into CIG. So I don't think they've got probably bad feelings about it. And like I said, I think next time they do competitions, they just make it very clear that you're winning a competition design. Your ship is selected, and I don't know, it might get it into game if we ever finish it. Possibly, maybe. I don't know.
We'll see how it turns. I mean, he said in RTV that there's a difference between rework and whatever the other one was, an upgrade or whatever. And he said that that's getting a rework, which means they can pretty much put it in the bin and start again. And what they'll do is they'll keep elements of it, and the rest of it will get scrapped basically. So they'll keep what they can of it, and it'll just be changing to a gunship and see how they go.
Did they say it's getting a rework or it's getting an improvement? Because we all know that the word based on what they established as rework means they throw everything out.
Yeah, but that's what I'm just saying. They said rework, which means they can basically start from scratch on it.
Yeah, which means ultimately it's not even freaking competition ship. What they won was the ability to put the name of that spaceship into game. That's effectively what they won. We won the ability for the name of the Redeemer to be in game. That's it, because like a rework is a complete rework based on the RTV we just saw, because that's what he described it
that's
as.
What I'm saying.
The guy's name, didn't he? So yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. It's a tough one, that one. I feel it is a tough one. But I just well, it's not. In my head, I would have just said I'd have taken on the chin.
It's a tough one from them because they don't want to cause upset, and like you see how people have gone over the Carrack. You see how people have gone over the Carrick, okay? It's just, you promise something and then you change it. I mean, I've seen a lot of people complain that it's been changed to a gunship from what it originally was. Like, shit tons of people saying this was meant to be a dropship and now it's a gunship. So, if you just said, no, we're scrapping it, it's going to cause a shit ton of backlash. This is not me agreeing with them. This is me just saying this is why they're doing it, because there's probably more hassle for them to fucking cancel it than it is for them to actually just make it usable.
And Dax, by the way, I completely agree. By the Valkyrie, I think we spoke about it. They should just put a little bit of cargo in that bloody thing. It's just ridiculous that it doesn't have it. The Valkyrie is pointless, really stupid.
Well, considering the size of the opening, the size of the space in there, it could have a bit. But it does. I get what people are saying. It doesn't need it. But no, I don't know.
Just a little bit. I mean, like we spoke about this before. Most helicopters have, netting, have a percentage of cargo. I mean, they have a percentage.
So you can put
cargo space.
You'd want it so that you can at least put like a couple of crates, like so that if you're doing a mission, you can pick a couple of crates up of whatever mission it is. Otherwise, it's just I've got to bring a whole new ship just to, because I feel like that with the Aurora, like with some of these single ships, Cetus ships. It's like, well, if I can't put any cargo in, I can't actually do these. Go and retrieve a box mission because I've got nowhere to put the box.
But it's like, you're going to use this as a dropship, okay? The one thing you're going to want to carry with you is ammo to be able to help the guys be able to keep their ammo up, so that you get some ammo for your guns, and then you can run back to your dropship or whatever, or you can drop off a bit of ammo. No, honestly, I think they desperately need to just add some cargo space on that motherfucker. You can limit, if they make it so that it can only carry certain types of cargo as well. You could make it so that it will carry cargo, but it will only carry, we designed it predominantly carry this type of cargo. I'll be like, okay, fine. But anyway, whatever. That's a whole conversation that we could go on.
Yeah, we're not going to go. I mean, that's the gist of it, but we won't go too much into that one because we're going to round it up now. Thank you, everybody. for your questions. Enjoyed tonight. It was good fun. We had a lot to talk about. Thank you, everybody, for the hosts, the raids, and the follows, and everything else. Very much appreciated. Hope you enjoyed it. Anyone that missed the start of the podcast, if you do !Asylum in chat, you can go to our YouTube channel, and it will be updated on there and everything else. So you can go and find it there. 2-1, thank you very much for the 2 months sub. Very much appreciated, sir. But yeah, so Buck, what are you going to be up to over the next few days?
I'm probably gonna stream some more X4 this week.
Oh,
I've heard about it.
so what's X4 like?
Depending if PTU will drop, but that will be by the end of the week, I hope. Yeah, how is X4? I needed to start all over again because it had a severe bug with all strange things happening while they released a new patch, and I had to get rid of my save game. But it's something different. It's got trading, it's got mining, it's got a lot of missions and spaceships, and except for planetary landings.
Oh, okay. But I've heard good things about it, though. I've heard a lot of people say nothing. I haven't heard anyone say negative, super negative. So
no, I never played an X game before, but I'm loving it. Yeah.
Oh, good. That's really
I haven't played an X game before, so
it's not a StarCitizen, but it's got that space vibe going on. So that's good. That's good.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
And Madness, what are you going to be up to?
I will be hopefully streaming sometime tomorrow. At the moment, as you saw with the sandals that I showed earlier, I'm working heavily on finishing some sandals. The call to feed the baby.
When are you
Got the baby?
The baby, gotta feed the baby. So I'll wrap this up quick. Yes, I'll be streaming. Obviously, check me out, a little bit of Madness on Twitch. And yeah, I'll be streaming StarCitizen, catching up on all the latest stuff. Maybe download the PTU patch, I guess. And yeah, should be good.
Cool. And
what are you up to?
I'd like to be streaming, but I probably won't because I've got too much work on, and it's all under NDA. Although this is one of the things I found my actual Dumpers Depot that I printed out. So one of the things I will be working on when I get some time is I've got this, and I've got some old things from what I painted before on top of the Kraken and the little grey cat and shit. So I'm going to do a little diorama with these bits and the Dumpers Depot little diorama thing, and hopefully, I'm already doing a lot of painting at the moment under NDA, so I can't tell you what it is, but it's fun. It's a lot of work, and I'm working all over Christmas and New Year, and God knows till when. So yeah, my streaming unfortunately is very slim at the moment, but soon in the future maybe. But otherwise, for now, just lots of painting.
Good cause.
It's always for a good cause. It's
Good night, everyone. I have a baby
so,
to feed, so I will.
Good night, all. I'm going to go on to AFK screen, and then we'll go and host someone. So thanks all for watching once again. Thanks all for the follows and sticking with us, and we'll see you all next week. Good night.
Night.
Good night.